All right, I'm going to start. I'm doing this on Instagram too. So I'm going to hit my Instagram live button here so that people, if there's any sort of overflow, that you can see it on Instagram as well. Thank you guys. So we'll get started here in just a minute or so as people still rolling in. This is exciting. Hope you guys are excited. I got a nice little thing just kind of put together right here. I'm just kind of really excited to share with you guys my a lot of stories, a lot of things that I've learned to help you get through the big question that was asked the other day. So welcome, welcome. I love it. You know what I'm going to have you guys do right now, because as people start joining in, maybe they'll start doing it so it doesn't all happen at once. Something that I love to do whenever I'm just doing these Artists Anonymous talks and meeting with the different members, people are from all over the place. So I just kind of want you guys to write in the chat, where in the world are you living? That's what I want to know. So go ahead and just write it in the chat and go through there. All right, I'm not sure, something's happening with my my Instagram. Sorry, it wasn't hitting going live. Hopefully it'll go live. Look at that. Oh my God. Hungry India said Gable, Vancouver, Canada, Phoenix, Arizona, from France, New Zealand, Trinidad, Portugal, Denver, Buena Park, Los Angeles, Pakistan, Italy, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Colombia, Las Vegas. Fantastic. All you guys joining now, you can just throw in like where you're from in the world so we can just see. That'll be awesome. San Francisco, Eastern Pennsylvania, Alberta, Canada, Atlanta, Georgia, Mexico City, Vietnam, Argentina, Germany, all over the world. Valencia, Spain, and Oakland again, Tampa. All right, Fullerton, not too far away from where I am. We got Flagstaff, Sedona, Arizona. All right, we got from the Bay Area, from Jersey. All right, welcome guys as you're scrolling through here. North Dakota, LA, Libya, New Jersey, another Italy. Italy, great. Orange County, fantastic, fantastic. And now you guys are all different time zones. And for all you guys that are here in the different time zones and the troopers who are up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, welcome. I promise you this will be an hour and you'll be able to get some nice sleep afterwards. 2 a.m. in the Netherlands. Oh, right on. Fantastic. All right. Let me just, I'm just going to go here. I just got to go to my Instagram again real quick before we get started and just get that going. So let me hit that. Let me go there and go checking my connection. All right. We've got to check in the connection. Okay. Excellent. All right, guys. Listen, as we're here, oh, here we go. Oh God, all right. Oh my God, 5 a.m., 7 a.m., 7, 10 a.m., 2. All right. Excellent. Okay, guys, listen, I do like to get started on time. And as people start rolling in, that's okay. This is going to be recorded. So if any of you guys have to leave for whatever reason, then that's okay. It's going to be recorded. I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. For you guys to see and also share that. But my hope for today, what I really wanted to do was just share with you just words of wisdom. I want to share with you my stories. I want to share with you some poems. I've written a couple of poems that you guys are going to hear tonight, and just give you just words of encouragement to help you get through whatever you may be going through, because we're all really are in this together. And what I'd like to do right now as we're on here, I'd love for all of you guys just to stretch your arms to the left and the right in your space. Just go ahead. I want to see you guys open your arms right there. What you're doing right now is you give the person next to you a big hug. You're just giving that person across the world just a nice big hug as we're here, right? You can go up and down, maybe the person below you through there. Okay, plus we're getting a nice stretch in there too. All right, fantastic, fantastic. All right, nice group hug. Okay, the other day, I'm going to get going here. The other day, I shared this with you guys. Do you feel like you want to give up art, and why? And I had no idea the response that it was going to have. I received an email from someone who told me they felt like giving up. And I just thought, I hear this over and over again as I've been teaching for many years and met lots of artists. And I hear the same story. They just want to give up for so many different reasons. And posting that question, I had no idea what would come of that. And what came of that was not just almost 2,000 comments, but 2,000 pouring your heart out comments, not just me too, I've gone through that. And that was so impactful. And I was reading and reading through as many of these that I could, and realizing and knowing that we all go through this for so many reasons, but why? And same thing with me. I've gone through this. I've gone through these different phases. I still go through it. The one big thing that I did want to discuss is imposter syndrome. And that's something that I go through, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about that in a moment. But I do want to share with you something that I do that's very powerful. Every single morning when I wake up, the first thing that I do when I grab my phone is I look at an affirmation. I have this book that I got. I'll tell you the name of it. It's called Opening Doors Within by this woman named Eileen Caddy. There's over 1,000 affirmations. Every morning I read that affirmation in the morning before I check any email, before you do anything. Why? Because it's important to make sure that you're not just waking up, getting out of your bed, straight to your phone, all of a sudden looking at who's liked something that you've put on Instagram or Facebook or anything else, who's emailed you, what sort of events you're going to have to walk into today that could all of a sudden just make your day miserable. So it's very important, and it's something I do when I go to bed at night as well. The last thing that I look at before I go to bed, and my wife will attest to this, is reading that affirmation. What sort of things you're going to have to walk into? Could you, would you mind make sure that you guys put your thing on mute? Because I'm unable to. Thank you so much. Well, the last thing that I look at before I go to bed, and my wife will attest to this. So yeah, thank you. This is, you never know what to expect when you're doing something live like this. But I want to share with you an affirmation that I read this morning. And that affirmation that I read this morning, and it was perfect timing. And I hope. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. This is you never know what to expect when you're doing something live like this. But I want to share with you an affirmation that I read this morning. And that affirmation that I read this morning, and it's just perfect timing. And I hope. I don't know how to find that person. Let me see. I'm doing this all on my own. And I want to share with you an affirmation that I read this morning. Are you? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Emmanuel. All right. Sorry about that. This stuff happens. All right, we're moving through. I'm going to share with you guys this affirmation that I heard this morning. And it is, there is no stress or strain in nature. A seed goes through its full cycle. It does not have to do anything. It just has to allow it all to happen. All you have to do is allow it to happen. Why not let yourself be transformed into a glorious butterfly? Come out of the chrysalis in that confined space, out of the restrictions of your mortal mind and ideas. When a snake changes its skin, it slowly wriggles out of its old one and leaves it behind to wither away and disintegrate. A crab outgrows its shell as it grows and expands and grows a bigger, more beautiful one. A bird cracks open its shell and emerges completely transformed. It is free. That is what is waiting to happen to you. A new freedom, a new joy, a whole new world is waiting to open up for you when you're willing to move out of those old restrictive ways, thoughts, and ideas and be transformed. And I think that's very powerful to allow this, because what we're going through when we're just struggling and we're in our own mind and we're comparing ourselves and judging ourselves to other people all the time, we feel that we're not going to be able to get through what it is we need to get through. Please go ahead and put your mute on, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And what I wanted to also mention today as I talk about this and read things with you is that I'm not a therapist. It's just very important just to, oh my word.
No. No.
I might have to move you out of here. I'm sorry.
No.
I think Emmanuel, I'm sorry. I just, can you please keep it on mute? Thank you. All right. And I just want to make that clear. If any of you guys are just feeling in a place of real depression and really going through a lot of things, I really encourage you to get help and just to seek the help. If I can do anything to help you, you can always DM me and I will try to give you any sort of answers that I can give you, but please, that's a very important thing just to understand. And I just wanted to mention about the imposter syndrome. So for those of you that don't know what imposter syndrome is, I'm just going to read to you just the definition of it, just so that you're clear. Imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persists despite evident success. And that's even success in your own drawings or maybe your own work, whatever you've done, that the imposters suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence that override any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. And where I have gone through that throughout my whole life, and I'm sure many of you guys have gone through it too and can relate to that, is that feeling that why I'm not good enough. How did I get here? Someday someone's going to come knocking at my door and tell me, hey, listen, pal, you've been faking it all along and we just busted you and it's time for you to get out of here. We've busted you. And that's the sort of feeling that can start to happen within oneself. And I can tell you that I experienced it even when I posted that notice about losing, not having the ability to, and wanting to give up on your artwork. Because now all of a sudden there was such an overwhelming response that I felt a little bit of, oh my gosh, am I going to have the right words to say? Am I going to be able to do what these people that are coming here just to listen to, are they going to get something out of that? And that's where the imposter syndrome jumps in. But I figured out ways through all my years to sort of put that into a perspective and control it. And what those things are, that's very important when you're feeling this self-doubt and this imposter syndrome. Number one is to know that everyone has it. Everyone has it. And that you are not alone. And you know you're not alone because just the people in the room, your friends and people you know, there's CEOs of companies, there's movie stars, there's musicians, everyone sort of faces that. So knowing I'm not alone is a great way for me to get out of my head whenever I go into that space. Another thing that I do is the acceptance of it, to accept that you do have imposter syndrome, just like you got to accept, and I'll accept that someday I'm going to pass on from this planet. I'm going to die. I don't want that to happen. I'm not happy about it, but I know that it's a reality and that's something that's going to happen in your life, in my life. And I think just having that awareness, okay? And a thing I want to mention is just to act. You just have to do. So whenever you're going through that sense of imposter syndrome, like this is going to be, oh my God, I'm nervous about this, or doing anything, that you just act on it and you just do something straight away about it. And my wife has been reading a great book that she has. It's by a woman named Mel Robbins. And she wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. And that 5-second rule is just what it sounds like. It's you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a countdown on yourself whenever you're about to get into a situation, and then you just act and you just do it. Maybe I'm having trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I'm just feeling a little down and depressed. Whatever reason, I'm just not feeling happy in my space. That you're just going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get up and go and just do it. That's a very important thing to do in any situation. You might be in a public place. I'm sorry, can you put everyone make sure they're hitting their mute button on the call? Thank you. The thing that is with the 5-second rule that can happen, you might see someone in public and realize that, oh my God, I want to meet that person. And just to get the courage to start going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm doing it, and just act before the opportunity leaves you. And before that opportunity walks away. How many times have you wanted to speak to someone or say something or raise your hand, and in your head, your mind is spinning and you're creating this story in your mind that's not even allowing you to say something and speak up and share what it is that you can share. So it's a very helpful tool in order to put into your life. Another thing that's very important is having a supportive partner. You're not always going to have a supportive family in this. And I've met so many artists whose parents don't encourage them, family members don't encourage them. It is just not that support system. But that support system from your family, if you're living at home, you can eventually walk away and move away from that. But maybe you have a partner. It's very important, whatever partner you have in life, to make sure that that partner understands you and is going to be supportive for you and let you know that I love your art. And when you want to draw and work and do something, that partner understands that, is going to say to you, yeah, no, go for it. Go upstairs, go do what you need to do. You need to go to that life drawing session, go to that life drawing session, have fun. If you find yourself, it's very important with someone who's constantly restricting you from doing this and putting so much self-doubt in your mind, these are the sort of changes one has to make in their life in order to move to that next place of where they want to go. I wanted to mention too that George Lucas, he said something that was really profound and just stuck with me, because this is very prominent in our lives as artists, because we are our worst critics, right? We're just like, we look at our work and we just think it just sucks, and it's just, oh my God, no wonder no one likes it, or what am I doing wrong? We just, whatever we do, it doesn't matter. I don't care what level you're at. We sort of have that thing in our mind. There's so many times I've said and complimented people, to artists. This was my thing with students many times. That's looking really good. Yeah, it's okay. It's not really that great. And so it's this self-defeating words that you're putting to yourself that are just sort of like destroying you. But George Lucas, what was very interesting, he says, I wish I could have enjoyed Star Wars. I wish I could have seen what everyone else saw, because I never got to witness it. I didn't get to experience it. Why? Because he was there through the whole process. He was working on doing all the editing, all the filming, everything else. So when the actual picture was finished, he was detached from it. But when someone's seeing it with fresh eyes for the first time, that is when we discover the awe and be like, wow, that's great. I like that. There's these fresh eyes. So when we're working on our own designs, our own storyboards, our own comics, everything that we're doing, we're so involved in the process that we can't even see the result of our own artwork at the end. And we need to allow, and I recommend, it's a very important habit to start with yourself, to say to yourself, every time someone compliments me, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because it's building your self-confidence and it stops putting yourself down. That's going to be very important. Another great saying that came about, I don't know who said this, but it was brilliant. What other people think of you is none of your business. What other people think of you is none of your business. Stop worrying about what other people are going to think of you or say about you, because it doesn't matter. If someone's sitting somewhere in their mind and saying, gosh, that artist really wasn't that good, most of these people don't have the cojones to come and even say it to your face, right? So why let it affect you? Why create that story that I think they don't like it? I think they're against me. And these are very important traits just to try to help yourself through this time that you're going through, whatever it is you're facing when you feel like you want to quit art. All right. As I read through all these comments, it was just amazing to me what I saw over and over again, and it inspired me. And that inspiration led to me writing a poem yesterday from this inspiration, from what everyone sort of wrote and what everyone was saying. And I want to read that poem with you guys right now, okay? It goes like this. The name of the poem is, Do You Feel Like You Want to Give Up on Your Art, and Why? Lack of skills and knowledge, added pressure too. So many commitments and imposter syndrome through and through. I don't feel inspired by what it is I draw. I'm tired. I don't practice enough. I don't feel a connection anymore. It takes too long. My art is not good enough no matter how much I try. It's hard to stay motivated. I lost myself somewhere. I just want to cry. I'm not creative enough. I can't come up with new ideas on my own. No response to job applications as I watch others succeed, most certainly have grown. I'm tired of others' opinions. I know I'll never be a professional with the industry. The studios just care about money and not quality. I'm simply not creative enough for them to hire me. I lack a direction, practice routines. I lack of encouragement and finding an audience who will see what I see. I don't like how my art turns out. I don't have time for me. I'm simply burnt out and even too old for this industry. I'm too indecisive. Where I live makes it hard. I feel like I never get better because I feel scarred. As I practice and work on my style, it just isn't changing enough for me. I'm never good enough to get hired. This is what makes me want to flee. There is way too much competition, criticism, and people not being fair. Scrolling through social media, I'm losing my care. Lack of engagement, not content with my skill. I feel I'm deteriorating as the perfectionist in me is making me ill. Anxiety and depression for sure is holding me back. Low energy and spark is making me crack. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. How to make a portfolio. I am a failure. I know it's true. Not one professional job. I feel I'm never seen. Insecurity and lack of income doesn't make me keen. Too isolated, no support. I'm stuck at a job that I don't like. With no self-improvement, there's no end in sight. There is not enough time for me. I don't trust my imagination. Art is too competitive and demanding. I can't focus on a direction. There's enough good art out there, you see. There is no need for an artist like me. Comparison to others, I feel like I don't know what it is I'm doing. I just can't get in the flow. I started too late. I know I'm not improving. It's better I stop now to run from my self-loathing. Dealing with people is exhausting. They make me want to scream. And I know that I'm a slow learner with very low self-esteem. It is doubt and the fear that is holding me back. I belong on the back burner. I might as well pack. I'm quite jealous and angry about what I see. These algorithms and social media are really killing me. I can't seem to concentrate, too many changes with commissions too. I'm not talented enough to see this career through. Wait, let me help you see. You are not the only one suffering with uncertainty. I know a formula, and it all starts with you, forgetting about the other artists and what they will do. Start forming new habits. Share your thoughts with friends and be in communities you adore. I promise you, these actions will help you score. Allow yourself to do your art in your own way. Trust in timing, and you will make it through this day. Art is not about perfection. It's about finding your own voice. And through your daily actions, I know you can rejoice. Make art, have fun. Love, Stephen. All right. That was my poem that sort of, thank you, came from what you guys go through, what we all go through, what everyone is tapping into, because we are not alone in this. And that's the biggest thing that I just want you to think about, just more than anything, that you're not alone in this. It's a very important aspect. Okay. I'm going to share another poem with you that I didn't write, but it's going to make some clarity and some sense. And it's short. It's not as long as my one was. It's by a woman named Portia Nelson. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in it. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in it. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault, and I get out immediately. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. and I walk around it. Okay. I walk down another street. So the moral really is taking the responsibility for yourself, knowing that you're in control. Is what is your desire? What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to change? What things are you doing over and over again that you start to see these things occurring over and over again, and realizing that things aren't changing because of these same habits over and again? But we have to find ways to make the change. We have to look outside of our own bubble, our own world. We have to keep learning and growing, however it is that we can do that. Okay. I want to tell you, this is a session of stories and poems, because it's going to be, I think, important and inspirational to help you through. And these are things, and these that I'm reading to you, I've been in my mind for so long that I love sharing these stories with artists, because I know if it resonated with me, I know it's going to resonate with you. And it makes you think, and I want you to think, to help you get yourself out of the place that you're in that makes you feel like you just want to quit and give up. And I want to tell you the story about things not hurting. There was a young man walking down the street, and he walked by this house, and there was an old man just sitting in his rocking chair. And there was this dog just whining and yelping, just, oh, 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 just crying. And the young man says to the old man, "Excuse me, sir, but why is your dog whining and yelping and crying like that?" He says, "Well, because he's sitting on a nail." And he says, "Sitting on a nail? Why doesn't he get up?" And the old man replied, "Because it doesn't hurt bad enough." How many of us are in that situation where we're complaining, we're unhappy about the situation we're in, but it doesn't really hurt bad enough? We're not really willing to make the change because, you know what? We're kind of comfortable. We're either living at home, we're in a situation where, you know, it's okay if it happens. If it happens, okay. If it doesn't, all right. Are you in that place? Are you in that situation where you start to realize that maybe I got to be that dog, and this time I'm going to get off that nail. I'm going to stop with the things and these thoughts that are going through my mind and stopping me from moving ahead and taking that action. I think it's a very important story, and I think it's a very important thing to remember for yourselves, because we can only help ourselves. We can't always have other people help us, and a lot of people don't want to help us. We're selfish in that way. We're selfish in that way because what we're trying to do is take care of ourselves. We're trying to grow our own art. We're trying to grow our own fan base. We're trying to do so much oftentimes for ourselves that we forget about the other people that out there that, you know, maybe need that help too. And even if you're able to help that one friend, and I hope after tonight and today, that even if there's one message that you can tell that extra friend, that person that, you know, hey, think about this story, think about this, you're doing your part. And when you talk about it out loud, I can't tell you how much joy you're going to get from it. Instead of talking about the things that are destroying you and holding you back, we want to start talking about the things that are going to just help us. And maybe let me try. It's always about the try. Okay. Another great story that stuck with me forever was Bon Jovi. I like Bon Jovi. When he got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he told a story about when he was 18 and his guitar teacher. And his guitar teacher told him, he said, "John, I got to ask you a question. You got to decide if you're in this for play or if you're in this for keeps. If you're in this for play, go ahead and play the guitar on the weekends, occasionally with your friends. Do whatever it is that you like to do. Just pick up your guitar, leave it on the side. When you feel like doing it, doing it. But if you're in this for keeps, you know what you need to do. You know that you're going to need to pick up that guitar every single day and practice every single day until you got the calluses on your fingers, because that's what it takes if you're doing this for keeps." And I say that because I want you to think and reflect on yourself too. Am I in this for play? Am I in this for keeps? Am I just telling people that I want to be an artist and an illustrator and I want to do this for the rest of my life? Or am I just doing it occasionally? Because if you do want to do this for keeps, you know what that means. It means stop the binge watching. It means stop playing the video games. It means stop going out every weekend and partying or just making excuses. It means stop scrolling through everyone else's social media, constantly wishing you were that person, but you taking action and doing it yourself. That's going to be extremely important for you to take the action, because no one else is going to do it for you. And when you start that, and it's the little pieces, I love this idea of just putting your puzzle together. What is that puzzle? What is that picture that you see before you build that puzzle? Is it that job that you want? Is it that you want to work at your own studio? Is it that other studio you want to work at? Is it a comic book you see being published? Is it t-shirt line? Is it, you name it? It just anything that you guys are doing. What is that? And just know that you're not going to get that straight away. It's not happening straight away. We live in this world right now, this instantaneous, everything's got to be so quick, so right now, that when we don't get stuff right now, then all of a sudden we feel like, oh my God, I got to give up. I'm not good enough and everything else. But if we just start to go, you know what? This is my 10-piece puzzle. This is my 500-piece puzzle. And it's going to take that many pieces to eventually put it together. So a saying goes, piece by piece will bring you peace. Just know that we don't have to do it all at once. We don't want to jam that food in our mouth all at once. You know why? Because we're going to choke. So we have to cut it into little pieces. And when we take those little bites, that's what we can do. We can digest that, and it's going to be better for us. So something to think about as you're going through this, okay? The thing that I want you guys to do right now, I just want to encourage just a little interaction. I hope you guys are writing stuff down, but I want you guys to write on a list, please, for me. You don't have to do it all now. I don't expect you to do it all now, but I want you to fill this out for yourself. I want you to write down on a sheet of paper, when was it in your lifetime, I don't care how old you are, whether you're 16 or you're 100, when in your lifetime did you feel like you wanted to give up? Okay. And I'm just going to tell you just a couple of, I'm going to read to you just some of mine that I wrote. But once you've done that, so you're going to write down when did these moments in your life happen? The next thing is why. Why did you give up? What was it about that situation that made you just want to give up? And the next important question you want to write down and ask yourself is what did you do to pivot and change? You may not be pivoting or changing right now in that situation in your life, but I can guarantee you, if you look into your past, you'll go, yeah, you know, when that situation occurred in my life, this is what I did. And I'm still alive today. I'm still here today. I'm still breathing. I'm still moving, doing what it is that I need to do. Okay. It's very important to do these things. So things that I wrote down that I'll just tell you happen for me, where areas I wanted to give up. I remember when I was in 8th grade, my friend David Lake, remember his name, 8th grade. Man, could this guy draw? He was drawing Marvel characters and DC characters with all the muscles, the superheroes. And I was just like, but I thought I was the best artist in my elementary school, you know, and you know, see, oh, that stings. This guy is so much better than me. And so I try to compete with him. He was my friend, but I always wanted to, oh, I'm going to draw my comic book hero. And it was always a failure in my eyes. Every time I looked at that drawing, I was just like, oh, this is horrible. And I knew it wasn't as good as his. And that's what made me want to give up, because I couldn't do what this artist could do. And I just wanted to quit at that point. So what did I do? I had to pivot. What did I do to pivot? I realized that, you know what? I really love animation and I like cartoons. Maybe I should stick in my lane and try to do what it is that I just do that feels natural to me. I'm going to stick to drawing my little stupid cartoons that they were back then. But that sort of gave me a new infused a new energy in my drawing in my life, because I was no longer having to compete with this person that was right next to me all the time. That was my best friend. And now we could have that connection together. And the next time that happened to me, when I was in high school, I drew for my high school newspaper. I thought, you know, when you're drawing your high school, you're a big fish in a small pond. Woohoo! Woo, I'm the best. Look at me. I'm drawing for my high school newspaper and everyone loves you. Wow, you can draw, Stephen. When the yearbooks came around, I was drawing in everyone's yearbook because no one else, they couldn't even draw a straight line with a ruler. So I'm the guy and I'm thinking that I'm good. I wasn't even truly learning at that point. There was an ego thing at that age. I wish that I would, and I recommend to any young artist, get influenced, get inspired, copy artists' works, find your heroes now. Don't try to be that person who just thinks that they got it all under control and you can do it alone. We can't do this all alone. But again, that was my ego back then. And my ego, what it did when there was a competition for 19 high schools. We're doing 19 high schools are going to be competing for best political cartoon. Oh man, I got this. I remember going to that high school and sitting in that gym and all these cartoonists from all these other high schools were there and they gave us the brief and they told us what the brief was going to be, what we had to do. And they gave us maybe about an hour or two to do our cartoon and then submit it. I thought I had this in the bag. And then we went to dinner that night with all the other editors in the schools, and all the schools are having dinner together before the award ceremony. And I'm sitting that award ceremony with a smile and I'm just got the confidence. And then they start going through we're going to start with the placement where everyone's going to get a certificate, right? Everyone's going to get, we're not just going to name the first 3 people that won, the top 3. We're going to give it to everyone. You know, you get a certificate. Okay. All right. Starting at 19th place for best political high school cartoon, Steven Silver. Oh my God. 19th place out of 19 people that enter the competition. Do you know, can you imagine that sinking gut feeling that just drops in you? And that's what I experienced. And at the time I just wanted to give up. I was so upset. I just wanted to quit at that point. But so what did I have to do? At that point I did. I quit on wanting to be a political cartoonist because I realized maybe this isn't something for me, but I'm going to pivot again. And so I pivoted more at that point into caricature because I was already doing caricature and I had a love for caricature. And so that was my pivot. That is what made me change. And I started to learn and I found Mad Magazine. And that's what moved me into this whole other place with art. And the next place where it happened to me was I tried to be a painter, an oil painter. And I realized that everything that I did just wasn't as good as Norman Rockwell, my hero. It wasn't as good as these other oil painters that I saw out there. And I thought to myself, man, I can't compete with these guys. This is tough. I'm still going to do it, but let me try something else. And that's when I moved into using line. And so I discovered Hirschfeld. I discovered all these other artists and I started using line all the time. And that's what eventually built me and made me who I became as an artist, was my line and my shapes. And it was all a development that came from wanting to quit, but making sure that you pivot into other areas. You never give up fully. Don't just quit. And what I wrote here was, I never wanted to quit art. I just quit things that I didn't feel that were right for me anymore. I didn't quit art. It just wasn't right for me anymore. I didn't feel it. So whether you're in animation, maybe you're doing animation, maybe you're going to school and you're in certain classes and you're doing certain things and you realize, even though I have to do this, it's just not me. This is why we have to do things for ourselves and just go into that place. But I tried everything and I kept pushing myself. And that does not mean social media, just focusing on that, because social media controls you. Social media, I'm happy that I grew up in a generation where there wasn't social media like there is now. I found my artists through books and libraries and magazines. With the social media today, this is what's crippling most of us, because we're scrolling through and we're seeing our friends and we're seeing all these likes and we're not getting the likes, and we're sharing stuff on Inktober and everything else, and we're just not getting the recognition. And because we're not getting that from people on social media who may not even seen it because there's so many people on there, we start to say, well, it's a reflection of me. All I can say to you is I want you to think old school. I do. How do you think old school? If there's something that you really want to do, there's some place you really want to be, don't wait for people to find you in social media. Don't wait for people to come to you. You want to make sure that you're taking the action. You take the action. You got an idea that I want to create this book that I think will be great for kids to have an education to learn their ABCs. I don't need to just post it on social media and hope that a teacher finds it and sees it. I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to start reaching out to all the kindergartens and all the schools. And maybe I might meet I know someone who's a kindergarten teacher. And it's these connections that are going to help guide you when you're willing to really make that effort and go out there. When I published my first book and put it out there, I didn't just wait for people. This was pre-Kickstarter. This was pre-everything. I didn't just wait for people to follow me and find it and get it that way. I went to nearly every single bookstore, I kid you not, in Los Angeles. I went door to door. I made a phone call. I said, can I speak to your book buyer? And they said, yeah, can I bring in my book? I have a book. Well, come in on this day. I went to all these stores, bookstores, met with the book buyers, took my very first book that I ever published and asked, would they be interested in having 3, 4, 5 copies of my book? Some of them said no, but a lot of them said yes. And they say, let me take 3 off you. Let me take 5 and we'll see how it does. And lo and behold, I'm getting phone calls back. I did it at a comic book store when I did my very first comic book, it was like Steven Silver's sketchbook. It was a very thin book. I went to a comic book store in Burbank and it was, I showed it to the owner and I said, would you be interested in selling this on your bookshelf? And he said, yeah, he looked through it. There was, it was like in a comic book form, looked just like a comic book, but it was a sketchbook. And he said, how much is it? I said, $10. And he goes, $10? Comic books are $3. Who's going to pay $10 for that? And I said, I don't know. I just feel that it's worth it. And this is what it is. Again, I'm going in naive, right? And sometimes that saying, I love the saying, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes, right? It's just like, I'm not asking permission. I'm just saying, this is what I'm thinking, what I want to do. So he said, all right, let me take 5 copies off you, through there. And I would sell it to him for $5. So 50% off, $5, he could sell it for $10. He called me up the next day, dude, I've sold out of your 5 copies. I need more. Go back next day and I show up to the place and I get, I don't even remember how many it was, but it kept going on that way. And it's just like, okay, I'm onto something, all because of that importance of trying. So that's why I want you guys to make sure that you're writing down the when, the why, and the what, just to answer for yourself, answer those questions for yourself, okay? And it's also a very important thing to make sure that you write down what inspired you, what has inspired you, not what inspires you today, but what inspired you, it could be today, but what inspired you when you were that 6-year-old kid? What inspired you when you were 12? What inspired you when you were 15? What was it that you saw? Was it a teacher? Was it a book? What was it? Was it an artist? Are very inspiring. There's so many things that you want to just start listing it so that we don't forget all these ideas, because that's where we get in our head and just say, I'm done. I just want to quit. I just want to walk away from all this. All right. With that said, I am going to just move into where it's already 5:43, my 12 steps that I want to share with you, that I want you guys to write this down too. A very important thing. I'll go one by one. And this is something that I cover every month with my members of the Artists Anonymous, where we just go through this process of mindset and discovery every single month in order just to get us out of those funks. And I repeat these same lessons all the time. So for those of you guys, members in the audience, you've heard it, but this is what we do. But again, it's very worthwhile repeating. That very first one that I want you to write down is honesty. Honesty of where you are in your ability. Where are you? And it's not just about showing your parents. I stopped showing my parents my artwork when I was around 18 years old. Why? Because they kept telling me how great everything was. You're so amazing. You're an amazing artist. No, I suck. I'm no good. But being honest and saying to yourself, you know what? I suck drawing hands. Okay, I need to own that. I suck drawing faces. What do you suck at? And when you realize that and you're honest with yourself, then you can start working towards something to get something finished. Okay. And it's very important. And I just want to say to finish things, because you cannot move forward and you cannot complete things within your drawings and never progress within your artwork if you're not completing things. If you're not completing your artwork, you are not progressing. You're just not. If you keep cheating yourself and telling yourself I'm giving up and not allowing yourself to finish that drawing because you haven't done a cleanup or you haven't done something else, you are cheating yourself, and therefore you're not going to progress in the way that you want to progress. So honesty, okay? Number 2 is faith that you can accomplish your goals. It can be faith in spiritual faith, but also the faith that you're going to go through with this. I am deciding for myself that this is what I want to do. I'm going to make a commitment to myself to draw every single day for 5-10 minutes a day, and have the faith and belief in yourself that you can do this and that you will do it. It's a very important part of this whole process. Number 3, surrender. It's my favorite word. It's my favorite word because as I've read through so much content in my life, of just from philosophers to the Bible to everything else, that word surrender kept popping up. And all of a sudden it hit me one day. Surrender. That's it. You got to surrender to what is happening, no matter what is happening. It doesn't mean giving up, of course. I'm surrendering, I give up. It means surrendering to the situation that's in front of you, that this happened, this bad day happened. It was out of my control. And realizing that a lot of things that are going to happen throughout your day are going to be out of your control. And when you surrender to it and say, okay, that happened, I'm going to move on now, it's going to be a very eye-opening thing for you to move into that space of surrender. Number 4, soul searching, discovery of the process you desire. You're soul searching for yourself. What are you? Sometimes we don't know why we're here. It takes a while. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What's the point? What is my soul's purpose here? What am I supposed to do? I can tell you, you're never going to know what you're supposed to do until you do it. If you're just talking about trying to do something someday, how do you know if oil painting is going to be the thing that you become this oil painter where you're telling stories and helping in many ways, doing things, creating books, selling galleries, creating value for people in some way, whatever it may be? What is your soul searching, and just, who am I? What do I love? Maybe you find yourself, I got to get into animation. I just want to get into animation. I just want to get a job because I just want to get hired. That's why I'm doing this. I just want to make a living. I just want money. Yet you just love sailing. And that's what you really love. And you find yourself going out sailing every weekend, right? But I've got to do this. And you find yourself being torn all the time. So maybe there's a place there in your soul search where you go, you know what? I love sailing. How can I turn sailing into what it is that I do with my art? Maybe there's an audience for that. Of course there is. There's an audience for everything. We got to understand that there's an audience for everything. If you love drawing and painting peanuts, there's people who love eating peanuts and want to hang peanuts on their wall. It exists. It's out there. There is a market for everything. What you got to realize is that art is everything. Everything we are touching, everything we are buying, everything we are involved in has to do with art. From the car you drive to the fork you use to put food in your mouth, to the packaging, to the toys. This industry is so large that I don't even want you just to think about the animation industry as the only way to make it. It's not. There's an artist that said, it's a very funny quote. He says, there's 2 types of artists in the animation industry, those trying to get in and those trying to get out. And it's very true. Okay. So it's just something to think about. All right. Number 5 is courage. To enter into uncomfortable situations. And that means speaking up a lot of the time, to raise your hand, to ask questions, to not be afraid, to have the courage for yourself to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm just going to do this. And when you speak up, people will start to respond. And that's how you get things answered for yourself. That's how change occurs, through courage. With no courage, there's no change. So we have to have that courage for ourselves, because it's going to build the confidence within ourselves. And it's trial and error. You will never know how courageous you are until you put yourself in that situation. And I would say experiment with it. Just try it. Just try something you're afraid of. One of the things that I'm deathly afraid of that I don't like doing is returning stuff and going to a store and having to return it and tell someone that, you know, I just bought this and it's not the right thing. And when I was on vacation and my wife was, you know, we were getting ready to pack, she's all, Stephen, I need you to go to the store and return this and tell them it's the wrong size. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to have to do that. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to surrender to this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I went into that store, and in my mind, I was creating the scenario. They're going to ask all these questions. And I went in, I said, excuse me, I bought the wrong size and blah, blah. It was all opened. It was all this stuff. And they said, oh, no problem. Woo, right? How many times has that happened? Mark Twain said, I've had many problems in my life, many of which have never occurred, right? All those stories, all those things in our mind that are just popping up. It just hasn't occurred. It's not there. It's not reality. Okay. Number 6, the willingness to take chances. The willingness, just be willing. I'm going to try. I'm going to do this. The willingness to even reach out to people. Reach out to people, direct message. Every single artist that you guys admire, if they're not dead, are on social media, and you can direct message them. Some people won't answer you back. Some people won't. All right. But the willingness to try, you got the question, why not? Why not try? The willingness to show up. Hey, I just heard about a gallery show going on. I hear about a convention happening. I'm going to show up. And you put yourself with the willingness into these situations that, again, will just infuse you and give you that motivation that it is that you're looking for. All right. Number 7 is the discipline to follow through. We have to follow through. If you can't keep stopping, you can't keep stopping, just quitting and giving up. You got to follow through with this, and it's a discipline, and it requires just you having the willingness to do it every day. Write it down on your calendar. Something I just want to mention, that I don't put things in my phone. I don't for calendar. I have an actual calendar, physical calendar, that I write down on there all the different things that I'm going to accomplish that week. That way I know where I'm at and that I'm going to do this week, and my willingness to try. Even though you fail, there's no such thing as the failure, because you're not going to have regret. I promise you, you're not going to have regret. You won't. If you at least try, because then you're going to know. And failure will always teach us. It always tells us that was a wrong approach. That didn't work out so well. Let me try something else. Let me just see. Let me just be willing to see what happens differently. Okay. Number 8, perseverance to keep on going. That's what we need. The perseverance, that motivation, that perseverance, just like, this is what I want. Again, are you in this for play, or are you in this for keeps? And if you're in this for keeps, the perseverance has to be just a daily mantra for yourself, that I'm going to get up and I'm going to work on this morning. Challenge yourself to work on a project and do it every day. Every time I have published a book, I have told myself I am going to do 1 page a day. That is where I go through. It's on my calendar every day. And it's important to have a timeline. And it's even better if you can set something up and you go, I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con next year, 2022 in July. Or I'm going to be at Lightbox Expo, whatever you're going to be, wherever you're going to go, you're going to put that deadline on yourself, so that you know that every day when I wake up, at least it gives me something to do for me. And why do you have to do things for you? Because I promise you guys, I promise you this, if you're not doing stuff for yourself, and you start getting hired in the industry and doing industry jobs, whatever it is, working for clients, you're doing stuff for other people all the time, you're going to start to get burnt out. You're going to start to get unmotivated. You're going to start to lose interest. You're going to start to complain, because you're doing stuff for this other person, these clients who are changing stuff in you all the time. And that boss is doing this, and you're just driving yourself crazy, and you have no time for you. You have to use your time now and say, while I'm not working, if I'm not currently working at an industry job or professional, I am going to work on my own project. I am going to build what I want to build right now. And I'm going to do this for me, because I promise you it will change. And what happens in your journey of life, and I'm in it right now, You go through that phase of drawing for yourself, which I did. You go in that phase, and eventually you start moving into a professional career, and you can spend many years in there, but then you're going to want to start just doing stuff again for yourself, because that's the big dream is of everyone who's working and has worked in the industry for long enough. Their big dream is just to do their own stuff. That's the dream. Just work on my own things and have fun doing it. All right. So something to think about. The next one is service. Service to help others, so that, because if you can get out of your mind, if you find yourself in a position where you're constantly beating up on yourself, because it is about self, right? I'm beating up on myself. I'm telling myself that I'm no good. I'm telling myself that I'm not worthy. I'm telling myself all these things, that when you can do an action of any kind where you can help someone else do something and just give them words of advice and help them and encourage them, I promise you, you're going to feel a sense of joy and you're going to feel a sense of rejuvenation. It's very important. And I think part of it is where you can start. Call those friends that you haven't spoken to in a year because of COVID. Call those friends. Just reach out to them, FaceTime them out of the blue. Hey, man, nice to hear. I haven't heard from you in ever. Go to lunch with them. Do things, because then you can have conversation and you talk about this. We have to talk about this stuff openly. We have to, because if we don't, we're going to go crazy in our minds and we think it's just us. We think we're all alone, and clearly you can see that we're not alone. And I want you to know this. So service. The next one, number 10, is initiative. Initiative to act without being asked. Don't feel you need to be asked. As a teacher, I have found that the students who grow the most, who progress to that next phase, are the ones that you don't have to just sit and tell them all the time, do this, do that, but they go out of their way to really just take initiative and do it on their own. So maybe you're in school right now, some of you guys, and your teacher is asking something of you. Take that initiative. I can tell you the students that have taken initiative that I have witnessed, the ones that when I would give assignments and they went above and beyond, those are the ones that I see in the industry. Those are the ones that you see down the corridor. Those are the ones who are speaking on panels. Those are the ones that are doing what it is that they set out to do, because they just decided, I'm going to take initiative. I'm not going to allow or wait for anyone else to tell me what to do, how to do it. This is up to me in order to do that. Number 11, very important, is to practice. You have to put in the practice. There's no getting better at anything. There was no getting better at riding your bike. There was no getting better at learning how to walk. There was no getting better at just drawing, whatever you're kind of doing currently right now, without putting in that practice. And number 12 is the last thing, is patience. To have the patience and to believe in the timing of all this. Please believe in the timing. If anything, believe in the timing. Because you know how long it takes an avocado tree to bear its fruit from the time you plant that seed? 7 years. 7 years from nurturing it, watering it, putting it in the right environment. And that's what we have to do. We have to put ourselves in the right environment, and we got to nurture that. So maybe you find yourself in a place where everyone around me is negative. There's no figure drawing. There's no galleries. There's nothing around me where I live. So do you stay there and become complacent? Or do you get up and say to yourself, you know what? I'm in this for keeps. This is what I want to do with my life. If it means that I have to move away from my family or do something else, that's what you got to do. These are the things that are going to move you to that next phase, to surround yourself, but believe and understand the patience. I like to say this just really comes down to 3 things. Number 1, you got to take action all around. Whatever it is you want to do, know what is your narrative. Know your narrative. Okay, sorry, the first one was narrative. Know what it is that you want to do. Number 2 is taking action. And number 3 is believe in timing. Have the patience. Eventually, it'll happen through that sort of persistence. All right. Okay. So we're coming to an end here. I did want to have some Q&A. So I know I said an hour. It always goes over. those of you guys that are, you know, part of the academy know that this is what happens. But what I want to do is move it into some Q&A. But before we move into Q&A, and this is going to be where courage comes in. If you guys have questions, I do ask, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask, just make sure that you just have a clear question, or just kind of be precise with it if you're thinking about something, because I know there may be multiple people that might want to ask questions. So just to be observant of that, please. And what else did I want to say here to you? All right. Yes. Before we do that, I'm going to read to you guys my second poem of the night. Okay. This is how I like to kind of wrap things up. And what I had actually done, there's a couple of books that, well, there's one book that I had written. It was called Conquering the Artist Struggle. But then I wrote that book and people were saying, a lot of people were commenting, this isn't just for artists, you need to change the name. So then I created this one. It's the same book, but it's called Breaking Through Barriers. So it's not just about artists, but it's the same thing. But I want to share with you guys before we open up the Q&A through here, this poem. And this poem is called As Long as You Are You. All I have ever done is enjoyed what I ever do. My mind was open, my mind was clear. I did not stop to think of fear. I open up my mind, think of an idea, put it into action, and see what will appear. It can never be a failure because I learned along the way. If I did not succeed, I'll try another day. Stay calm and smile, enjoy the things you do. Life will get much better as long as you are you. All right. So that's my parting poem for you guys. Before, if we have any questions at this point, I just encourage you guys just to, again, just let it out. It's okay. It's okay. You know, it's like we're here, we're all in the exact same place. But in order to do that, what I need you to do is in the reactions is where you can raise your hand if you have a question. And I'll try to go in order with anyone that has the questions, and I'll go from there. All right. So again, thank you guys so much for being here today. I really appreciate you guys. This is just part of something that I do every single week with my members of the Silver Drawing Academy in order just to help motivate them, help to boost them. Because it's not just about drawing, it's about the mindset. And if you can control your mindset and get that in gear, I tell you, the drawing just starts to flow. All right, I'm going to start. I saw Tito here, and then we'll go to McKay next. So go ahead, Tito, if you want to just unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Stephen.
Hello.
So it's like recently I had to walk away from a very lucrative book deal because there were, creative differences. And so basically the question is sort of, what's next? You know, when you have something that seems like everything you ever wanted, you know, as a young professional, and then that's no longer an option, where do you go from there?
Well, I would say, like, my feeling about that is like, is that what you really wanted if you walked away from it?
It was everything I wanted on paper. It was kind of like, you know, I wanted to work in comics. And so basically what I wanted to do was like R-rated Scott Pilgrim. That's what I wanted to do. So we had, you know, like we had a good artist lined up. We had a good publisher lined up. Both the artist and the publisher did not want to do R-rated Scott Pilgrim. So that was kind of where the disconnect came in. So I kind of had to walk away because I could tell that's not what they were down with. But from a technical standpoint, I know that the artist could have drawn it and it would have looked amazing. And I know that the publisher would have, you know, done a great job with the publication. Okay. So it was just creative differences. Yeah.
Here's the thing that I'm going to just say to you is just do not stop. You have to create this on your own. You got to move into the self-publishing aspect of it and create it, the comic, the book that you want. Start going to conventions, start doing that, sell it, and build your audience that way. It's what I did to say. I was rejected by publishers when I wanted to do my first book. So I decided just to make it on my own. I'm going to do it my way. And through making it my way, I went out there to the conventions, started going to places where that genre is accepted. And that's what you'll find, places where that genre is your people. And those are the people that you're going to attract. And not only that, when you build it, they will come. You build it, you show them, and you make it. You don't throw this dream away. You don't stop there. And what I would say, whatever you have to do for your regular day job, whatever it is that's paying the bills, doing that, but I would say to you, absolutely, you got to make this on your own and just go through it. I was just talking to a friend today who we've been pitching a show. And as we were pitching shows, we realized that even when we pitched these shows to the executives at these networks, we realized that doing that, it's going to be in their control. And the thing that shocks us the most is that even though we pitched it and we put these together, that these executives don't even have the ability just to reach out to you and say, hey, thank you for your time, but it's not what we're looking for. They ghost you on the highest professional. And it's not just, I've heard it from my friends pitching shows too. You get ghosted. They just like, why? So I'm putting in this work for you just to approve of me, you know, or do we take the bull by the horns and do it for ourselves? And that's what I want to encourage you to do, is take the bull by the horns and do this for yourself. Because if you got the idea and you got the artist, make it happen. And that's going to be that piece of the puzzle, which will eventually lead to many other things. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And
Okay.
yeah, if anybody wants to do R-rated Scott Pilgrim in the style of Samurai Jack, hit me up, titowjames.com.
Thank you, Tito. That's what this
totally
is all
read
about. Fantastic. All right, there's a lot of people popping up with questions. I'm just going to kind of move through the people that I see. I'm sorry I can't realize all the order that this sort of happened in. But the next one is Tialer Hen.
It's Tyler.
Tyler. Okay. All right. All right. Hi, Tyler. How are you?
Hi. Hello everybody. I'm good. I hope you're good too. So the question I had was, how did you develop your style? Because it's very unique. And I know for me personally, my style is very all over the place. I'm always drawing in a different style. So.
Great question. I suffered with this. I was always just trying to find, what is my style? What is my style? And I realized that your style is truly, it really is within you. It's like your own handwriting. We have our own handwriting. We have our own way of walking. We have our own way of running, right? We have our own distinctive, unique quality about us. But what we're doing is we're looking at so many artists all the time. We're just like, what is my style? I like this, I like that, I like that. One thing that I would recommend always is make sure that you are looking at multiple artist styles. Don't try to fall in love with one other artist style, because you don't want to become just a clone of that artist, but you want to learn what they've sort of done. And I promise you, through that sort of experimentation, your voice will eventually come out. There's going to be something there because it's innate, it's within you. I remember an artist, he was a political cartoonist, and he felt that he didn't have his own style. He wasn't sure. The thing that he did was he stopped just looking at artists altogether and just said, now I'm just going to do this for myself. But this was an artist who was already in his 40s, right? Who sort of like had to abandon ship because he was becoming too dependent on looking at other people's styles. But I promise you, it is within you, and it's going to be just trial and error. And when you get into the animation industry, if that's a goal of yours, you're going to want to be a chameleon. You really do. Anyone out there who wants to work in animation, you got to be able to adapt to many different styles, because that's what the animation industry is looking for. Can you draw SpongeBob all the way to Danny Phantom compared to Gravity Falls to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? You know, can you adapt to that? And if you can, you're more likely to get a job. If you want to be a freelance illustrator, you want to do illustration work for magazines, books, I recommend you find that one style that's consistent, because art directors want a consistent style. But that's what I would say to you. Allow yourself to go through those explorations, and I promise you that it will come. Can I ask how old you are?
I just turned 20.
20, you're a baby, you're a baby, you're a baby. Okay. So that's the thing just to remember, is just like go through this and allow yourself at times of the day just to experiment. I found something that really helped me develop my style was figure drawing. When I went to figure drawing, I would look at the figure, but I didn't just use one medium, I used multiple mediums. So I'm using a chalk stick, I'm using just a marker, I'm using different things. And I found, oh, wow, that's an interesting look. And I realized that I could start eliminating my lines. I didn't need so much detail, but that's where I was training myself in the beginning. I was learning how to be a draftsman in the way that I wanted to learn how to do portraits. And these are things that I would recommend, that if that's something you want to move into where you're drawing humans and everything else, learn how to draw portraits, learn how to draw the human figure, learn how to observe those things, and go out and draw in your sketchbook and observe as much as possible. And I promise you, your style will develop. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Tyler. All right. Let me go. And if you can, when you guys are done, if you could just lower your hand. Let me go to Zara next.
Right.
Hey, Zara, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Still a little bit sleep deprived, but that's not the problem right now. Anyhow, I was a studio animator for Armada TNT, which is a small branch of CLAM Animation in France, and I was working for Zig and Charcot for around a year. However, much like any kids who would probably hold Iranian passport, Vietnamese passport, Asian passport, basically any passport that are not exactly connected to European and American countries, it's a little bit hard for us to really put ourselves out there. And I actually have to quit my job from Armada TMT when I realized I can't really grow out from there, even though I had a lot of experience working as an animator on a chain. It's basically chain work. So I've been a freelance animator for around 2 years now, trying to get myself out there. But what would be your advice for basically a little pipsqueak like us from Asia or from places that are not from Los Angeles or New York, or didn't have the capability or the money to move to places like that, to put ourselves out there? Because I know for your experience, you experience your old style way. You roll in your car, you go to different bookstore, you go and talk to different people, but it's gotta be a little bit hard for a little pipsqueak like us to do that. So what would be your advice on that?
Yeah, I see. I don't want you to think like just the little you know, to go out and do this. I think because you can do it, you just got to know what it is you want. I will say what's happened in the animation industry through this pandemic, you know where the silver lining was in this? For anyone out there that lives in all parts of the world, is that it opened the doors to all these animation studios realize that they don't need butts in the seat anymore, that they could run these studios, they can run these productions without having artists there, because where producers would think, if we let artists sit at home by themselves and they want to work, we're never going to get the artwork coming in, and we're going to keep chasing them. They realize that's not the truth. They realize that the artists want to do this and they're going to work and they make it happen. So the doors, I want you to realize that the doors have opened wide. I was just talking to a producer friend of mine at Disney the other day, and I know that is staffing up for a show. And I always like to recommend my students for different shows that are coming. And I said, what are you looking for? And he just, said, we're kind of looking for everything. And I said, do they need to be, LA based? And he said, no, they could be anywhere. They could be international. It doesn't matter. So I want you to realize that there's been a big shift. It was that way. It was hard for people just to get the visas and come through and go through that whole route. But so how do you do that? Is about making yourself, it is trying to get yourself seen, being active on a social media, in the sense of, even if you're an animator, create your own stuff. You got to create your own stuff. A friend of mine who runs Titmouse said, I said, how do you hire most of your animators? He said, by finding them on YouTube and Vimeo. I see they're doing their own little shorts, and that's how we discover them, right? So that's what it is. It's about doing it for yourself, putting it out there on every level, and that's when things will start to happen. It's about just releasing that idea that little old me has this ability and that this is going to happen for me, because it's just not true. If you allow it to be true, it is. If you accept that as the truth, then it will be. But there's nothing to stop you. I'm sure there's art fairs. I'm sure there's art galleries. I'm sure there's, again, I don't know what area of the art you're moving into, but it's, again, thinking outside the box and allowing yourself just to, maybe today I'm not going to draw, but today I'm going to write down all my options. I'm going to write down where it is I want to go, who it is I want to talk to, what it is I want to see. And I maybe would start from there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, sound like it will. Guess I'm gonna have to do a lot more personal work.
Yes.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
All right.
Thank you for that, Stephen.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Scott next, and then we'll go to Taryn and then Matthew. Hey, Scott. Oh, you got to unmute. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
There you go.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you.
Good. Well, first I wanted to raise my hand because I now have an opportunity to talk to the Steven Silver. So, I'm your age. So I feel like, whereas a lot of the people who are in this session, they're just starting out. I feel like I'm almost having to start over. As I said in the comments, like this past week with the amount of freelance, because I'm a freelance illustrator and I do some animation. I feel like a lot of my clients, and I attributed a lot of it to COVID. I feel like a lot of that has gone by the wayside, and like this week alone, I made $100 and that's $100 more than I made last week. And you know, when you have 3 kids, which I don't know how many of you besides Stephen and myself have kids, it gets really dicey and hard, and it's really depressing. So I really don't have much of a question as to say it's wonderful. I'm so thankful that you did this, because I, as well as a lot of other people, poured out their hearts, like you said. And it gets kind of hard to get up in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
One other thing I mentioned in the comments as well is, like, I know that, like, you talking about how hard you had to work to get where you are now. I had to work pretty hard to get where I am now, even though I feel like I'm starting over. I feel like once people get to that position, they kind of forget about the little guys who are still struggling to get to that position, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know I go through the 12 steps, and, you know, I criticize my work. I'm pretty honest to myself about my work. I know that there's a lot of things that I can do to step up my work. I have the courage to get out there and network and all that stuff. And when you put out like 30, 40 emails and you don't get a response, it's hard to still keep up that courage.
Yeah.
And you know, and I know that I have, you know, I don't want to sound totally arrogant, but I know I have a lot of talent, and I know that I can really bring a lot to the table. It's just, I wish someone would allow me to step up to that table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scott, thanks for, you know, sharing that, and just feeling that, yeah, now almost sudden now you're just having to pivot somehow, right? It's like trying to change what you've learned in that career. I think some things that are important is just to, almost like I said, like every morning I'm reading those affirmations. It is that mindset. It is the knowing that things are starting to open up again, and believing that, right? And it's like finding things, like there's books called like The Artist Market. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where it's a list.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing you mentioned too is about, like, when COVID hit, that was a big silver lining, because before that, you know, I would reach out to everybody, you know, on Facebook, and, you know, gosh, there's so many names that I could name drop, but I'd reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you guys were hiring. Can I work remote? They're like, no, we don't do that. And then once COVID hit, I was like, I see you can do this. Yeah. Like, but now I'm just waiting for them to kind of put their money where their mouth is, you know. Yeah. If you really can do this remotely, I'd love to see it. So
I mean, and I'm a firm believer too, again, because at this point you're almost just relying on, again, other people, right, to hire you and give you that. And during this time, I think there's no better time than just to start working on that, maybe there's that back end project you had in mind, that thing that you wanted
yeah.
to do and get out there, in order just to give you that motivation and just know that I'm going to use this. Because many times we have this with downtime, and we'll stress out and we'll scramble and all this, and realize that all of a sudden that job comes, and now I got the job, and now I'm working all these hours again. It's like, oh, why didn't I use that time that I had, you know, to really just do for me and build this for me? So I would always recommend, you know, in this place, I can't, you know, wave a wand and get everyone a job or something, but get, you know, and, you know, just doing that stuff now, right? I think that would
I totally agree. But there's that thing in the back of your mind, like, you know, for instance, my wife is a teacher, and I always make the joke that as a teacher, I thought she'd be smart enough not to marry an artist. but you know, God bless her. She always says, "Hey, go do this." You know, she's a great support. I know a lot of people I saw in the chat, and I'm taking up a lot of time. I should shut up. But I read in the chat that a lot of people were saying, "I don't have that, and I don't have this." But clearly, like right now, looking at what are we at, 118? We were at 145. Clearly, there's 145 people who are out there to support you if you don't have that.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Stephen, for doing this.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Oh, all right. Let me go to, sorry, McKay, could you maybe just write what you're going to say? I just want to go in order, and then I'll come to you. All right.
I understand, but you said me after Tito.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. My screen has changed here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that.
No worries. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's gonna be really quick. It's a short question.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of thought in this, and currently I'm in a full-time job, which gives me plenty of time to do stuff I love, which is cartooning. And I love cartooning so much that I post on a daily basis. And so far I've been getting quite a lot of traction, which is pretty good. Not as much traction as I like, but like you said, believe in the timing, which is what I plan to do. So with that said, my main goal is to start a freelance business. So once I get that started, when is the correct time for me to leave my full-time job in favor of my freelance business? What do you think?
Yeah, so my suggestion with that is you always want to have a lifeboat before you jump off the ship. Okay, so you want to make sure if you got your full-time job, the idea is that you're working on your freelance down here, and you keep building it, and then they start to realize I'm earning enough income, I'm doing this, and then at that point, if you feel like you could do it at that moment, that's when you stop. That's when you start to walk away. That's what I did in my own career, where I was working in the studios for many years, but I was always an entrepreneur, wanted to do my own thing, and I'm doing my own thing until I hit that point where I said, I'm working enough now doing all this, the stuff that I wanted to do, that I can now just say that I no longer want to work in-house anymore. And that's when the right time to do it is. You don't want to jump too soon, because what happens is you go into panic mode. You're going to start stressing. You're not going to be able to focus. That's when the anxiety is going to kick in. You're going to be, oh my God, I need a paycheck this week. What's going to happen? So I would recommend just wait till you start to feel that you're sustaining yourself enough. Again, maybe it doesn't even have to be at the same level, but it's enough for you to make that change. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay. You bet. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. I believe I said Taryn was next. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hi, Taryn.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. So I'm thinking of moving out of California after being here for only 3 years, because it's expensive, yeah, but it's also so far away from my family, and I haven't been near them for like 10 years now. I've been all over the country, but the plan was to come here and get into animation. And so before completely deciding to leave, I've promised to do like one last effort this whole year, just to like give it my all, apply to everywhere. And I mean, outside of my day job, I've been working multiple freelance boarding project. So that's like super close. So my head says it's okay to move, to be kinder to my mental health, but my heart says I should feel disappointed in myself for not making it into a studio. Do you think it's a wise move to move at this point?
I really think this is like part of your soul searching, thing, and knowing what's good for you, because what's going to happen, I think, from that, where there's a part of you and a piece of you that's missing. And that piece that's missing is your family. And I think that might just be part of the puzzle that's going to help you just project you to that next phase. And once again, realizing that this industry, it's not just about working in-house at the studios, because most of these studios aren't going to be opening up for a really long time still. I'm on the animation board, and we're not opening up it's still not happening to where you could still have that effort. There's also advertising, storyboard advertising, you don't have to move. It doesn't have to just be an industry job, so you can think about that, where that in your own hometown where you live, there's probably agencies and other places that you can reach out to. So reach out to those. But I would say, you got to feel that piece of the puzzle, and there's nothing more important than, especially if a connected family and a family, because it's going to give you that. It really does give you that energy. Don't feel like I made the trip to LA. I didn't get hired. I'm a failure. You did something that a lot of people didn't do, and you gave it the old college try. And that's all we can do, right? Is just give it a try. And now, you know what? You are never going to be on your deathbed with regret. I can promise you that. You're never going to say to yourself, I wish I would have just tried. Even if I gave myself 6 months a year, I just tried and see what happens. You're not going to live a life of regret through there. So that's what I would personally recommend. Go where your heart's, I think, kind of trust your gut, or you'll be in a rut. All right. And I think that's what it is. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank
right.
you so much.
Thanks, Taryn. All right, let me go to, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't call out everyone's name. I think Matthew and then Katrina. Okay, Matthew, Katrina, then Jonathan. Matthew, Katrina, then Jonathan. Okay, so Matthew, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so when you brought up what inspired you at a younger age, I just think back and realized that my inspiration is a bit fuzzy to me. I just have no idea why it got me to become an animator or anything else. And that made me realize later on that I don't have a sense of direction for me to grow my skills, because there is no reason why I become an animator, or what inspired me there, because like I said before, my memory's a bit fuzzy. I have no idea how I got there. So the question is, what can I go from there, even if I don't have a good clear moment for me to get to inspire from?
So I would say, like, what is it? Forget about then yesterday. Forget about the past of what inspired you to do that. What is it that excites you about animation today? What is it that, if you were to, do you like telling your own stories? Is there something that you like character animations? Like, what is it like right now that you enjoy about, if you were just to start from scratch? I'm doing this because why?
Well, I can't remember making comics at a younger age, so I think that I have a sense of the will to tell stories.
Okay. So that's, it just starts with that. It's like, hey, I want to tell stories. So what's maybe something, an experience? You got to tell stories based on your experience, which is going to make it even that much easier for you. So think about what you've gone through in your life and your journey so far, and just start there. You don't have to create the Lord of the Rings, right? You're just starting with a simple story about you and your life, and that all of a sudden can transition into something else. It's part of the thumbnailing stage. Norman Rockwell, very famous artist, when we were starting a painting, sometimes he would start just with a lamppost. He'd draw the lamppost, and that led to a sailor standing next to that lamppost. And all of a sudden, well, that sailor has a dog. and all of a sudden the story just started to unfold, and that's where you got to start. So maybe just start with something as simple as that and your comics and doing, and see where it takes you and allow that to happen. And I think you'll start to see that, you know what, I really enjoy doing this, or I don't enjoy doing this, and that might move you into a different direction. But that would be my recommendation to you.
Okay, I understood. Oh, and one thing, this is a bit off topic. Have you seen Miguel Covarrubias' work?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay, never mind that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matthew. All
Thanks.
right. All right. I think Katrina was next, and then Jonathan. I think I'm right.
This Katrina or the other Katrina? I saw
Oh,
there were two.
Katrina Karas.
Okay, cool. That's me.
Okay.
Hey, so kind of weird question. I tried to trim it down, but I don't know how to. It's a little complicated. So I have a passion project that I do on my own. It's an animatic series that I make, but it's fan art of a live action IP. So I don't know that, like, I feel like that's points against me for using it in my portfolio, but it's also like something that I really believe in and I'm really passionate about it. And when I do it, like, I feel the spark that I haven't felt like for a very long time. And I haven't been able to make a jump over from the games industry, which I kind of just like found myself in, never really wanted to go into, over to the animation industry. And there could be tons of reasons why I'm not hearing back from places, but I keep thinking like, maybe it's because my portfolio, like 2/3 of it is this fan art project. And I'm scared of like pausing on the project and trying to do something else to fill the portfolio with. I'm like, what if I get burnt out and I don't come back to the thing I really believe in? And I'm also scared of leaving my salary games job. It is a storyboard job, but like I want to get into the animation industry, and I know that I probably have to take a bunch of contract work. And I'm just so worried that's going to like jeopardize me financially and healthcare wise. And that also like it'll mean every few months I'm going to have to spend a bunch of time looking for the next job instead of working on my project. So I'm just wondering, like, am I holding myself back with this project, even though it's like what I really believe in? Do you think I can have my cake and eat it too?
Yeah. So what I want to say is try to just remember what Mark Twain said, that I've had many problems in my life, many of which have never occurred. I want you to just to think about that. So if this happens, then that might happen, and this happens, right? So we just got to start from here and start moving. In regards to your project, absolutely do not stop that or do not quit that. What I would say is you don't want it to be fan art to be 2/3 of your portfolio. That's a lot. What I would say, if you just have that project as one aspect of your portfolio and showing the rest of your boards and your creativity, that's what you want to do, because the industry, believe it or not, wants to see that fan art. There's a lot of shows that are being regurgitated and coming up from the past, right? That they're redoing. They're just now doing Animaniacs, and they're doing so many different shows all the time. They're bringing back that. If they can see in your portfolio that you bring a new take to that fan art, right? This is a new perspective, a new design. It's clearly that design, clearly it looks like Superman, but it's like your own interpretation of Superman in some funny, comical way. Then they go, okay, maybe this person, we can maybe use them. That'd be good for this project. It's like, so it's something that you're not going to be rejected just for that. I would say if it's 2/3 of your portfolio, that could be a big part of it. You don't want it that much, but absolutely, if you find something that you love, and this is what gets you up in the morning and you're working on it, just do it, because you're going to build that appreciation from fans out there who are going to find it, fascinating, and for yourself. But that's what I would say to you, is just keep going with that. Slim down your portfolio, keep going for the industry jobs, keep submitting your portfolio. And like I was telling the other artist, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. A lot of names go through my mind, but just don't jump ship too soon from your job, from that security. Just you'll eventually start building things up that way. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, you bet, Katrina. Thank you. All right, let me see. I think Jonathan was next. Hey, Jonathan,
Yes.
how are you?
Hey, how are you? Thanks
Good,
for
good.
really hosting this today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, so my question is, like, when it comes to just like animating and drawing, and just like when it comes to like just having an animation career, a lot of us tend to like experience some form of like self-conflict, or feel like we're going against the grain of just everything. And there's a part of me, like, like I've grew up like just, I'm only like 21, but I was really inspired by my favorite Disney classics back in the 40s and 50s, like Fantasia, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, and now that just like the industry now is just turning its back against traditional animation, and everything's going either to puppet or CGI. And my question was like, if you're someone like myself who like wants to like start a studio to bring back this type of animation, but then you also want to get some experience working for other studios as well, like how do you deal with like self-conflict and like issues like this that arise? Have any of these happened to you before?
Yeah, so good question. I think definitely what's happening, you're right, in the industry, it's changing, it's evolving, that they're not necessarily doing the traditional stuff anymore like back in the day. But what I really recommend for artists who want to move into that area, I mean, it still exists, right? It's a little hard to find. You got to sort of go get through the weeds a bit and find out what studios are still doing it out there. But what my recommendation for is the artists that love the medium of traditional animation and find that they're not getting jobs in that area is move into storyboarding. Because when you become a storyboard artist and you're doing the storyboarding, you're getting to move those characters around, you're getting to tell the stories, you're getting to draw traditionally in that way. And I think it fills a void, which is absolutely going out there. And then of course, it's just doing it for yourself, creating yourself. A good friend of mine who's a director now, his name's Rob Pratt. He was a Disney feature animator, worked on all the films, but on his side, because there was no animation, he said, I'm just gonna make my own fan film. He loves Superman, the classic Superman and Flash Gordon. So he started to make his own animations, which is just doing and posting and sharing and doing that. And again, it comes back to yourself doing this for you, not worrying and waiting for someone else to give you that power and tap you on the shoulder and give you the permission and say, Jonathan, you have now been approved and accepted. Now we shall take you. You know, choose not to do that. And that's what I would recommend, is just keep that hand moving. Don't give up on it, because again, it still exists out there, but maybe the storyboarding aspect might help you feel that energy.
Oh, thanks for answering this. I just really appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure. Thanks, Jonathan.
You're very welcome.
All right. Let me see the next three line up here. We're going to do Molly, then we'll do James, and then we'll do Dean. So Molly, James, and Dean. Okay. Could be
Hello,
a band
hello.
or something. Molly, James, and Dean. All right. Okay. Hey, Molly, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
So my question is, so a lot of things that prevent artists from really going for it can be like motivation, confidence, lack of opportunities, being afraid, and things like that. But what about lack of energy? Like you're working your butt off, you've almost made it, but you're starting to burn up like a spaceship entering orbit, and you've like you're going to burn up, because you're talking about like when did I want to give up and what was the pivot? But like when you're having the breakthrough, you haven't had the experience yet of what the pivot is. So since you have more experience and know a lot of people, I thought maybe you could say what can be the pivotal change when energy is the thing that's holding you back.
Yeah, I mean, energy, that's something that is going to be very important. And it does definitely begin with how much you're treating your own self and your own body, you know, with what sort of the foods that, right, you're putting in your mouth. Are you even doing any sort of exercise for yourself? Are you even maybe meditating? Are you giving yourself breaks? And I find that artists that are going through that, they're oftentimes not doing any of those. They're just not eating, they're just eating junk all day, right? Which is just deteriorating and making them low energy. They're not giving themselves an opportunity to say, you know what, I am working all the time, but I can for an hour go on a walk or do some activity that I just want to do, because it's your body is, your mind is telling yourself that I just don't have the energy. You just feel tired all the time. So where are the changes that I don't know your life or what it is or what your schedules are, but are there, it's like asking yourself, are there those moments that am I draining my energy on social media? Am I spending so much time just even looking at other people's artwork all the time, and I'm binge watching stuff all the time, and I'm constantly taking in all this information that I don't even allow myself to be still? And I think if you can allow yourself to really be still at times and just sit there, you can start to gather that momentum and that energy. But it's a reason why in the animation industry, it's mandatory in a union studio that you have breaks. Because if you don't and you keep going, right, where's that energy going to come from? But I would say it definitely has to do with those areas. For myself, in order to find energy, I just give myself a lot of breaks. I'll go out, I do meditation. I sit still very often, and I go on walks, and I walk my dog, and every once in a while I'll go hit some golf balls. But you got to go do whatever it takes, because that's what's going to give you the energy mentally and physically.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Molly. All right. Let's go to James and then Dean. Hey, James.
Hey, hi. Long time. No
Good to see you. Been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. My thing lately, I think it's just me, anxiety. Because I've been, in the industry 15 years, started cleanup artist, mainly doing a lot of animation, we're gonna axe cops on his horn, things like that. And I moved over to storyboarding now, and I've been freelancing. And the hardest thing for me is just getting going and to get to that zone where you can just kind of tune the world out and be in your own world drawing. Like, it's taking a lot more time to get to that. So,
Yeah. So is it anxiety of drawing the storyboard and stuff you have to do, or where's the anxiety in that? Just getting. I'm
trying to figure a little bit of that out, because like right now, I've done a few tests, and I'm just waiting to hear back, and I want to work on my own stuff, and I avoid it like the plague. When years ago I could just sit down and draw. Now it's just frazzled.
Right. Yeah. I think you're going through just a change, and I've gone through that change where I was doing the same thing. I was drawing Madman every day, and eventually I just found like, wow, it's just kind of leaving me a bit. And what is it? And I realized that I wanted to, for myself, I wanted to be more of a teacher, and I was moving into that area. But I also find going into figure drawing really helped, because it forced me just to get up and go someplace and do something completely different from what you're doing every day. And I think that's what I would advise, is you got to force yourself to do something completely different than you've sort of done. It might even just be picking up paints where you've never picked up paints before, and just doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think, and that might just be COVID too.
Right. Yeah. Right. And the COVID, sure. Right. That's sort of hitting, because
I teach these little wine and paint classes with ladies, once a week at restaurants, but I haven't been able to do that in over a year.
Yeah.
It was great. It's like tangible. I'm not drawing on a Cintiq all day. Something,
it sounds like that's what you're kind of going through to me, because you're missing out on those other aspects of what you've sort of enjoyed for so many years.
Yeah. And I just know like the anxiety, like depression is my jam. I could deal with that all day. But anxiety is new to me. That's a hard one for me to handle. So I haven't got the tricks yet. So I just wanted to see if anybody else had any, tricks and secrets. And
yeah, listen, and it's just getting out there. I don't know if you get, even now today, you could go out, right, get a sketchbook. A lot of things are opening up where you're just taking, and again, just forcing yourself to do something that you haven't been doing. I think that's what's causing this sort of stress and anxiety within yourself.
Yeah, because I just know how to, like I see in the chat, people like, depression is my jam. It's just, I have the tools to work through that. I've gone to therapists. I've done the things that a lot of artists will do.
Yeah.
This is
switch it up, man. Get out. You got to start getting out now. And even before you start your day is just morning warm-ups of doing something, again, just for you. You might say, I'm going to draw a caricature today. I'm going to draw this today. I'm going to draw something completely different. Grab a book of one of your favorite artists and just like, oh, I love the way that, there's Rockwell, whatever. Oh, I love the way they drew their head, and just copy something so you don't even have to think of creating it for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're just looking at someone else's work and just moving that wrist.
Yeah, I've actually been onto that. I recently saw this thing called you draw 6 characters and people give you suggestions. And I just started doing that one, the first one today. So I'm drawing different Woody Woodpeckers right now. So
there you go. Okay, listen, it's a start, piece by piece.
There should be, just a little affirmation that I'm going in the right direction to handle this.
Yeah. No, it sounds like, I think that's good. Again, it's going to be those little pieces, those little chunks, and it always leads to something else. But I think that's, I think you're on the right track with that.
Cool. Thanks. And thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks, James. Good to see you. All right. See you.
The next con or wherever.
All right. Let's go to Dean, and then we'll go to Chris, and then Charles. All right, Dean.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, Dean.
Hello. Yeah. So sorry, my internet's a little unstable. Okay, first thing, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for me to be here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so you see, the thing is, I actually tried to apply for like graphic artist positions. And so let's see. And so the thing is, it's kind of hard for me to connect with people. And if I'm not getting ghosted on at job applications, when I go to job interviews, I just not had very much success on job interviews. Yes. So I was just wondering, maybe do you have any tips or advice for that? Or I mean, and also you also told us that it helps to connect with other artist events and communities. And can you also tell where I could probably find those?
Yeah, where do you live?
Well, it's a kind of a strange situation. My family's in the middle of moving right now, but I was thinking maybe around like Minnesota or.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I would say is you've got to start local in that way, right? Instead, you go to the jobs, you're trying to have interviews, and it's uncomfortable or it's not working at this time. What it is, yeah, you've got to start building up your skin, building up the thickness of your skin when you do start going to conventions. And I would start local when you start. And I know in Minnesota, there's comic book conventions. There's a lot of conventions that happen out there. I know things have been closed, right? So it's been hard. This whole year has been hard. It's been hard for me to tell people, oh, just go to that convention. Well, it's closed. It's not even open, right? But I know that things are coming back. But I would say that's how you start the networking. And you start, there's a gallery show you just hear of, just local, whatever it may be, you show up. You just start talking to people and just have your artwork with you, have your sketchbook with you. I would always, it was a great talking point, no matter what level you're at. Whenever I would go to galleries, whenever I go to events, whenever I showed up at a convention, I always had my sketchbook with me, because that became a conversation point just to start talking to people so people can actually see what it is that you do. And now with an iPad and everything, if you have a website, you're doing graphic design, you can have that on there. But what it needs to be for you is this experience. You're trying to build up your training. You're trying to build up this experience. You're trying to build up your knowledge. And by you showing up at these events and just like, I'm going to do it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to speak to that person. I'm going to ask them, and just give yourself that opportunity, because practice eventually doesn't make perfect necessarily, but it does get you to that place that you need to be. And that's where I would start. And you might even just start, again, even more local, just smaller than a big convention. If it's too intimidating for you, you might find just some local, maybe you're doing graphic design, you want to do graphic design, and there's a restaurant, maybe it's a cat and dog pet grooming place, and you notice that they have a horrible logo or something else like that. You may go to them and you're showing up with your artwork. Something I used to do, and I used to paint Christmas windows too, and I used to do that. Show up to these businesses and ask them, do you have any interest in art, designing, changing your logo or designing this? And I found that I would get some work from there. It wasn't a lot, but it was a stepping stone. Everything's a stepping stone. And that's what I would recommend for you, to maybe just start there. All right.
Okay. I see. Yeah, it seems lately I have been getting a little bit depressed lately. I haven't really been able to find any time. Full time. So I have been getting a little depressed lately.
Okay. So again, take these actions. Do it. Just try. You can just start on your calendar. Maybe say next Monday, I'm going to do this. That's going to be, get yourself out of the house, do something, but just, even if it starts with 1 day a week, then you move it to 3 days a week, whatever it may be, just make that first step. That's going to be the most important. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, thanks, Steve.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome. All right. Let's move to then Chris and then Charles. If you've already spoken, if you guys can just lower your hands and then I'll know where I'm at. Okay, let's go. Yeah, Chris and then Charles. Hey,
Hi,
Chris,
Stephen. Thank you so much for doing this.
Ooh, that's a nice microphone and a nice quick voice there.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of things online, so I figured why not invest in the tech?
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. So my question is, I'm trying. I want to make sure it's not too convoluted here, but
Okay.
so I've been applying to jobs after I got out of college, and especially through the pandemic, and basically, especially for like production assistant jobs, because I figured, okay, maybe my art is just not up to par yet, so maybe I'll steer clear from the art jobs for now. But I have a problem just getting past the application process, and sometimes I don't even get a, I'd rather be told no.
Yes.
I think you saw I appreciated that you saw my comment on the post for this talk. I was like, you know what, just tell me no. I'd rather be told no than just like just leave me hanging. And honestly, it's become very just aggravating and depressing, and I try not to let it get me down, and I'm determined to get a job in this industry one way or another. But so with that said, how do you think I can pivot from this? And also, actually, yeah, I think that is the question. How do I pivot from that point? Because it's like another shot, and I feel like at one point they're just gonna have my name on file, and they're gonna say, "Oh God, is this guy again?" Just like, I don't know, just ignore it or something.
Right, right. And so you're trying to move what it is that you desire, what you're trying to get into is have a production role on an animated property, on an animated series, or?
Yeah, I really want to work more as an artist.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But I figured, okay, I can maybe get my way in one way or another, and PA has always been seen as like an entry level, and they're very open to like, oh, you like this? Okay, well, guess what? We'll have you exposed to character art, and see what you're into or something. And so I just see it as an entry level way of getting my foot in the door. But ideally, I would love to get like a revisionist job or something, something that's art, but entry level.
Well, I was going to ask you that just about in regards to the revisionist, if you do storyboards, because that being a revisionist is a great entry level job into the animation industry to eventually move into a storyboard artist. And I almost think that I kind of almost want to encourage you to not just try to pursue that that production coordinator or something, unless sometimes if you're in school, it gets harder because there's so many schools out there, and they'll be tied in with some of the studios where it's more of an internship, right? Where you're getting that internship, but what you want is to start doing that work. I would almost advise you to start thinking like an artist, that this is what I want to do, shooting for the top, start putting together that portfolio of storyboards, and start being the artist and start putting yourself in front of people as that, because it is going to be trickier sometimes just to meet those people. Just say, hey, are there any production jobs available? Can you hire me for that? Like, you can maybe meet some line producers through through conventions, through different things, through Zoom, the Clubhouse. I don't know. You find them someplace there, right? There's a lot of different areas, but I definitely would say go for what it is you truly want to get into, and doing the storyboard revisions is a great thing. What I would recommend for anyone that wants to do storyboards and break into this industry is make sure that you're, again, be diverse, that you're showing like how, if you were to board out just a little sequence for say preschool show, so, and then also a primetime animated show, so, and then also an action adventure show, because what people got to see, they got to see this different genres that you're capable of doing. That if you're just drawing one style and one way, they may say, well, I don't know if Chris could handle that sort of show style and do that. And that's what I would definitely recommend doing. And things I would say is just that you don't need to create your own stories. It could be like a little nursery rhyme, right? So it's just a very short thing that people know. It could be a joke, because a joke has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you could just make it very short. And I think it's like putting stuff like that in your portfolio is going to start making you that professional, and be the professional, and show people who it is you want to be. And then start, if it means start from scratch, resending everyone's stuff again, you do that as you move into the convention route, you do that. And the conventions are, you know, a major part of it because you meet people. You have to meet people. You have to be, you know, how most people get jobs is through friendships, right? From other people that they've met. Most people working in the studios and industry will say, I got that job because I had a friend who recommended me and this and that. And the more people you keep connecting with, the more chances you give yourself to have that, you know, happen. So those are sort of actions I would take.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind because I was told, because like and that's another thing. I feel like, how do you figure out like what you really want to do? Or I think maybe I answered it earlier, because I feel like, and I'm sorry if I'm taking someone else's question, but because originally I wanted to be a character designer, but you know, because that's such a coveted role that people have told me, you know, storyboard revisionist is pretty good because it shows, one, you can stay on model, and two, you know how to tell story. So I guess kind of like a part two of this is like, and I hope this answers someone else's question, is like, how do you know for sure what you want to do? Is it just as simple as like, well, I'm definitely not good at that, so maybe I should just try this? Is it just as simple as that?
Yeah, well, it's not that simple. It's going to be, so much of this is just trial and error as you're working through this, that you're going to start to discover that I just don't have the, like, I meet people all the time, right? Every Tuesday I do these mentorships and I meet with people and I see people, they go, I want to be a character designer. And I was just met with a guy recently and I'm looking through his artwork and I'm going, you know, you're not a character designer. You need to be a storyboard artist, because he had so much life and energy in his poses that were just better than his design. Now, not to say don't chase that dream and don't do that. The reality is, you are, as a storyboard artist, you're going to be creating a lot of your own character designs as a storyboard artist, because the character designer can't pre-design everything. So you get to just actually do that. And then that goes to the storyboard, the character designer, to start working stuff. So you get that fix of design. Oh, there's a bear that needs to be drawn, but I didn't get it from the character designer. I'm going to draw my own bear in there. So you get to put that in there. And I think it's going to be that feeling and making sure that you're getting people, professionals, just look at your stuff. Again, another bonus to go into good conventions or meeting certain people and say, and not showing your parents and not just showing your friends, because your friends are always going to tell you how great you are too, you know? And I mean, good friends will tell you suck, you know, dude, you gotta get, you know, get it back. But, you know, a lot of friends will tell you that stuff too, but really getting that opinion from someone to say, hey, you know what, this is, you're barking up the wrong tree here. And again, it's a gut feeling. You're going to know. It's like, what is it that if I like say, if I gave you, you know, hundreds of millions, you don't need to think about money forever, ever again. You're completely taken care of and you get to wake up tomorrow. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now that you're no longer thinking about the money? You're no longer thinking about these other things that you're going to do for you. That's what you want to ask yourself. And then you'll know if you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because it's a lot of like anxiety in there too. It's like, okay, I haven't gotten a job yet, and you know, I got to figure out how to pay this and all that. So I guess that it's hard to find that balance as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend, again, I would almost need to see your stuff, but I would definitely highly recommend that. It sounds like the doing the storyboarding and doing this and the storytelling and a bit of the character design in there, moving your hand, your wrist might be a direction for you to start really pursuing. Build your portfolio that way, build your website that way, and then start reaching out to people. Again, we just never know what's around the corner ever. All we ever have to do is just start something, just get out of our own head and just say that, okay, I'm going to set a goal for myself. My goal is to have my portfolio done in 6 months. So I know each month I'm going to work, every week I'm going to work on creating my storyboard, you know, and doing that. All right. And then actually do it and wake up and do that and make that a reality.
Gotcha. Right. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks,
again.
Chris. You bet. Thanks. All right, let's go to Charles, and then we'll go to Scotty, and then I think Faison, maybe. You can tell me if I'm butchering your name at the end.
Zion.
Okay, right on. All right, so let's go to Charles, and then Scott, and then we'll go to Zion.
So I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
So hi, Stephen, and thank you for this session today. It was really, really helpful.
Great.
So I was working never before in an industry and I have no idea how this is working. So when I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I was more comfortable about my art, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do it now. And now I write a portfolio and show them what I can do. And then I didn't know how to do a portfolio. I had no idea. So I searched on the internet. So for examples, and I looked at all the art and I was like, oh no, I'm way too bad. And I didn't know what to do. So every time I sit there like, it looks good. But on the other hand, I have the problem to say, now I send it in, and I'm actually, I think, more afraid of to get reject from it than to get, to accept it that way it is. So, or get no response of it, that's all. So I don't know how to build up a portfolio. So have you, for example, something like that? So how can I go further? So should I put more of my stuff in it, or is it more that they want to see from everything, so that they see what I'm capable of? So
right. Well, okay, good question. So it's very important to be distinctive, right? To be able to show your own voice in your portfolio, because you're being hired for your ideas, your creativity with what it is. It's also very important in the animation industry to have a specific role that you're trying to get into, whether it's storyboarding, character design, prop design, background layout, color design. What is it? So start to have a focus in that area. There are the studios that look for generalists, right? And they need to be able to do a lot of different things. But what I would advise is to find the thing that you truly love doing the most and build that up, that portfolio. And as you're building up that portfolio, it's going to be important just to organize it in a way to where it isn't a mess of everything. Like you can't, like what I like to tell a lot of people, imagine going to a restaurant and you go to the restaurant and the hors d'oeuvres and the desserts and the entrees all mixed together, all in one thing. And you're just like, dessert, entree, dessert, this. I go, oh my God, this is so confusing. I see so many portfolios like that. You got to break up your portfolio into sections. So you can, if you do multiple things, you can absolutely show those on your website, on your portfolio, where here's my character design, here's my storyboards, here's my props, whatever you're doing. Then when people click into that, it'll show them a gallery of that artwork. So there's some organization to it and it's not so chaotic, but absolute. And then just the versatility. If it, like I mentioned, with storyboards, with character design, with prop design backgrounds, where you're at being different all over the place is like, well, I can draw very graphic style. I can draw realistic style. I could draw this way. And you're showing that because it all starts right with the portfolio. Then it will lead to a test. And then after the test, it will lead to the job if they want to hire you. So that's what will happen. Okay.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, you bet. Thanks. All right. Let me say, okay, Zion, right? Yeah.
Yes, let me sit for a second, please. Thank you. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Let me reintroduce to you, Sir Stephen, okay? I'm Zion Zarzuela Fernandez again. I was one of the attendees or spectators of the ToonCon Cartoon Convention 2019 in Pasadena way back in late 2019.
Yes.
So here's the very high concerning, or should I say a worrisome question for the cartoon industry or anime industry or the entertainment industry. Like, especially I recently talked to one of my former high school classmate here in Los Angeles, which is Armenian American. Especially, she's also a fan of Kim Possible, the one you drew that a long time ago.
Yes.
She kept on asking me, sorry for everyone out there watching here. It might be pretty offensive here, but the question is, are you really concerned about the cartoon anime industry that always criticized with the racial discrimination, over-sexualizing, like sexual innuendos or something, especially the appearance of any of the cartoon characters that might have a negative impact to both past and current generation children? What are your answers about it, Sir Stephen?
You know, I can't control any of that. Or that's all I can say is just I know people are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to make the cartoons they want to make, and there's going to be people are going to be offended, right? And then there's going to be the other side of the people who are going to embrace it and enjoy it. And I think that's what we're allowed to have, this freedom to be able to do that. And I think we should all be able to exercise our voice, you know, in that way.
Thank you very much for the answer. And guess what? I just recently got the anti-COVID-19 vaccine earlier today. Sorry if I say that word. Thank you for the time, Sir Stephen. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks, Ion. All right. Let me see who I had here. We're coming down to the Y here. I'm going to go to, oh my God, I'm going to butcher your name. You're on the front there. You can see it.
Do you want me to say it? Okay. Yeah, you did a good job. You did a good job. Better than most.
How do you say it?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah.
The H is
All
important. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great to meet you.
And I want to give you a warning. Bear with my social anxiety. I say that before any Zoom question I do. This is a question about time management, kind of. Okay. Recently, I've been blessed enough to be in a nice animation mentorship, and I'm really excited. But also I'm very overwhelmed at the time, and I'm also volunteering, and I want to incorporate animation in my activism and volunteering, and it's getting overwhelming. I'll get hyped up one day, and then I'll just sit there and not do anything for an hour, and it's like, I gotta work on this, then work on it for a little bit, and then not do something else, and I was like, I gotta schedule this, then I schedule, and then I don't follow my schedule. So I'm at that point.
Yeah, it just sounds like a lot of that voice in your head stopping you. But what it sounds like, what I like that you said that you're doing, what you got to take credit for is that you're doing this stuff, right? You're doing it. You're not, even though it may be hard for you to break into it and get that, it seems like you're making an effort to move into these places, even though it's taking you a little bit longer and your mind's playing those tricks on you. I think, again, everyone's at such a different level here. And as I said at the beginning, I'm not a therapist. I can't tell you the formula that's going to help you exactly through that, but maybe that's sometimes what's needed, that extra little voice to help kind of give you that routine that you need. But I know it is about routines. It's about starting with those. For me, it's about starting with the daily affirmation. It's about, for me, ending that day with that daily affirmation. It's about me making sure that I'm listening to other people's stories through YouTube, even that they're not in my industry, and hearing about whatever it may be, just to get a little boost of confidence, and just reading books. I don't know if you're a reader or not, if you enjoy doing that, because if you want to watch video, but if you love reading, again, there's just so many books out there, and trying to acquire those and giving yourself that time to start thinking differently and doing a lot of writing. Do you do a lot of writing, from in your mind, oh my God, I just got to get what's in my head out on paper? Or do you find that you let it circle in your mind a lot?
It's an interesting mix of both. Some days I'm just gonna write out paragraphs, and some days I'm just like, I should probably write this down. So I'm just gonna text it down and I'll write it eventually. Okay.
So listen.
That's a start.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what I want you to think. It's about the start that you're doing this. Again, because there's so many different levels. And I just liked hearing you say that you were doing these other things, because you could freeze and do absolutely nothing and create all this chaos in your mind and never take the first step. Yeah, I wish, I don't know if there's anything that I said, through tonight, just to kind of just help push you a little bit, further, and just taking the bull by the horns and having a calendar and making sure that you stick with it. And again, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 has been a very powerful tool, where you do that and count back, and you're just like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, go. I got to do it. I'm not going to trick myself anymore, and see what the result is. And oftentimes, again, you're going to see the result was, wow, that just wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. That person didn't say what I thought they were going to say. And these are the things that will keep reoccurring. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. Looks like we're coming down here. So we'll do Nathan. Then we'll do, oh my God, another name I'm going to mess up. Kiva, oh, I'm looking. Dilgio, and then Anna Maria. Okay, so let's go to Nathan.
I don't know where to start, actually. I have a question, but I don't know what to expand it upon, I guess.
Okay.
This is actually my first time speaking to you. So well, first off, my question is that right now I'm working on a very, very, very graphic, like the extreme level to the T graphic novel that has very NC-17 related things. And I don't want to say what it is,
okay,
but it's basically Who Framed Roger Rabbit mixed in with Alan Moore's graphic novel Watchmen.
Okay.
And it is filled with a large homage and ode to the original graphic novel that started everything. So now, my worry is that some people might think that I'm copying and I'm stealing, and I really wanted to be a writer, and I have other projects that I want to get off the ground. But the problem is that because right now I'm like 11 page into my outline, and I just have to, describe of every event that has happened, and go into the bones first, and then into the meat, which is the dialogue, and into the tissue, which is the drawing and the execution, I guess.
Right.
So my question to you is that I'm not going to pitch it to some comic book company. This is something more of a personal matter of my struggles, my events within both indie and the animation industry, and is very R-rated. So the main character is an extreme misanthropic. So he not really curses, but he's a large racist to literally humans. But initially, what my question, and I'm sorry if I keep on saying this, but what I'm trying to say here is that how can I make a story or comic or whatever that would be my own story's identity without evenly steal it, is what I'm trying to figure out.
Got it. No, absolutely. So just everyone steals, right? And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you know what I'm saying when I'm saying that is that all the stories in a sense have all derived from something else. Everyone, it's derivative, right? So who's really come up with a real original thing, right? It seems like it's almost hard. There's always people I'm going to take the zombie idea and I'm going to twist it. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to twist it. So you're adding your own twist. So I wouldn't look at it as stealing. It just becomes stealing when you're literally plagiarizing, when you're literally taking words verbatim. It becomes stealing if you're just taking Roger Rabbit and drawing Roger Rabbit, but the actual Roger Rabbit, but you haven't done it in more of a satirical way. So you could take that idea, and as long as you're putting your own twist to it, and it's R-rated, X-rated, it doesn't matter because there's an audience.
Yeah.
There's an audience.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about that. I'm just trying to describe as to what it is. And I'm trying to, and not only that, but I'm trying to explore like taboo subjects that I have to think clearly about. And hopefully my readers, I guess, if this comic's ever going to be made, which I'm trying to, I want to have the audience have a little bit more of a clear thought about. So that's the best way to describe it. I'm trying to my best to make it abridged and onto the point.
Okay.
Because it'll take like a freaking hour to actually explain everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, no, listen, I think you're on. I say keep going with it, keep doing it. I think what's real stealing and what's sort of like a derivative aspect of it. And I would encourage you to do it, especially if it's giving you some direction, it's giving you enjoyment, it's giving you something to do and work on. I would absolutely encourage you to keep going with it and don't worry about that. Just as long as again, you're not flat out ripping something off, then I think you don't have a problem. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing is that you're right. I'm getting flustered right now because I use Zoom, but not quite too often. So, and much like some other people, it's sort of really hard to be able to talk to people, especially online, because I'm an introvert, much like your average Joe.
You're doing great. Stop beating up on yourself. You're doing awesome.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I've discovered my love for art without even realizing it around 4th and 5th grade. And I'm talking about like the mid 2000s. And I don't want to be all emotionally sentimental, but initially there's a high school, there's a middle schooler who I went to the same school that we went to when we were elementary, when we were at elementary school. And she drew this really cute, her own style, of course, version or art style of Disney's Bambi. And when I don't know how I saw it, but it was supposed to be on our folders that we have to keep in our homework or whatever. But initially, when I first saw that, I basically told her that I hate her art, and my relationship with her has been crushed. And she cried. It's basically it's not basically out of me being a bully, but it's me being extremely envious. And ever since the last 2 years before I went to high school and I never really see her again, it really did hurt me. And I tried to win her back, but it's really, really awkward and cringy of what some of the things that I do, just like what we all have in middle school. And as I told some people, and especially on with a special shout out, by the way, Molly and Archer, Molly and Archer. Initially, I beating myself up and continuing to do so in my own little masochistic way. And initially, I've been coddled by my parents saying that I draw great art, and all of them, especially my middle brother, doesn't know how the animation industry works as I do. So he's trying to make me apply to these different jobs, and he makes me want to work. He actually told me to work for this one game company, and it's like first off, I'm not that much of a gamer, and second of all, they want people who are very talented. I'm not talented, but I thought I was at the time, so I basically submitted. And there was a time when he was still working with Uber, my middle brother, who actually got a business card with some executive who worked at Nickelodeon. And I submitted my portfolio or my resume, and I haven't heard from her. I mean, this person, I'm pretty sure is a female, and I haven't heard a word from her since I first posted that. And I posted my email, my resume, and I think I posted that around 2016 or 2015. And ever since then, I've been sort of down in the dumps. And ever since I have my first job, because I was lazy, and I didn't have my first job for the first 4 years after high school because I was really depressed. And thankfully, I have my therapist who actually helped me out a lot, like a little bit more so than I could even think of compared to my other therapists that I have in the past. Well, Nathan, and I have my job, and I'm sorry, I'm getting way off track.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just kind of want to tie it in, and just at the end, just knowing that, again, even though you're going to get ghosted in this industry, we all get ghosted. Doesn't matter what level you are. And I know this was back in 2016. And for you, all I want to just encourage you to do is just keep drawing and keep working on the things that you want to work on right now. Just try not to worry about what someone, had happened in the past or something. And even with this girl, if there's any way you can reach out to her over Facebook or anything, and just let her know the reason I said this to you, I just want you to know, was because I was so envious and jealous of you, and let her know. But that's what I
unfortunately I don't know where she unfortunately She has a Facebook, but I'm unable to actually add her as my friend. But for whatever reason, the add friend button on Facebook is, I don't know. I think she privated her Facebook for whatever reason, but it's weird. I don't know how Facebook works. I only use it to upload, or sorry, whatever, upload, post, whatever, my own artwork, and I don't really do that much political things unless it's something that I'm actually know about.
Yeah.
But other than that, I only post majority of my stuff my own in Facebook and sometimes Twitter, but I hardly ever use Twitter for reasons obvious because, well, it's a political cesspool now.
Hey,
So.
Nathan. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't want it to get too much of track of what the core of what it is that you're really trying to do. And I just also want to move on to some of the other speakers, but I just want to say to you, I just want to say, just continue with your comic, okay? Just keep doing that, and that's the advice that I just want to give you, because that's what you need to focus on right now, okay? And I'm happy to hear. I'm glad that you're working with a therapist to help you through different situations. But I appreciate you speaking up and having the courage and coming up here, and I want to commend you for that, okay? So, but thank you so much, Nathan.
I was going to say something else, but I forgot. So I guess that's just it.
Okay, we'll talk again. We'll talk again. All right, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, already.
Okay,
Hi, Stephen.
Yes, who was
this is Nimish from India.
Oh, newish.
I'm sorry for cutting in.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you whether you listen to any podcasts, because I listen to a lot of your art talks, and they're really, really helpful while I draw. They give me, they put me in the right mindset, and I wanted to know whether you listen to any podcasts.
I actually don't. I'm more like, I just love listening to I just find so many different random things on YouTube with information. And something that I'm listening to a lot now is there's an app called Clubhouse. You have to have an iPhone and you have to have an invite, but I listen to that a lot. There's a lot of just great information coming from that in all different areas. But anyone that I am always listening to, they're definitely more like just people who they're entrepreneurs. They're just people who started from nothing and started their own, whatever it is they were doing. That's where I find myself listening to a lot of those a lot. Yeah.
And could you please, go back to Proco in a couple of years and do another live sketch video, because I enjoyed your live sketch by Proco,
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it really put me in the right mindset of going out there and drawing from life.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you. I do have, just to let you know, just even on my academy, I have over 400 videos like that. So if you go there, you'll be able to see those. But thank you, Nimish. All right, I'm gonna come back up here. I think, okay, so it was the next was Kiva. Okay, you're gonna have to help me out. Kiva. Hello? I don't hear you. I can see that you've unmuted, but I don't hear your voice. Okay, maybe just if you're okay with it.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. There you go.
Okay, 1 second.
And how do you say your name?
It's actually Kiva, and it's a long story about the end in my name disappearing, but let me not get into that.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for allowing me to speak here tonight.
Yes.
One more question, I try to keep it quick. My question was in terms of writing. I do mostly draw in the artist and illustration, but I have this fear when it comes to actually writing, because I realize it exposes your emotion a lot, and I am terrified of sharing that. But I realize this is something I need to do. I need to be able to connect with people, especially if you're doing art. And I just wanted some advice in terms of basic or immediate advice in just writing, putting your work out there in terms of writing, and how to put your honest feelings into your, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with writing, but you must be if you're in the industry. I just would like your opinion in that.
It's the same. My opinion is very simple. Do not share it. Don't worry about sharing it. Just do this for you. Just it's like there's a great book. It's called The Artist's Way. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it or read it, but she talked about doing these morning pages where you just, the minute you get up in the morning, you just start writing whatever comes to mind, you know, oh, I hear the birds singing and blah, 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 whatever it may be, but allow yourself. But my biggest advice to you is do not worry about sharing it. Let your stories be told, fill up these books, just do this, that creative writing, start filling those up. And when the time's right, let the time's right, because who's to say, why do you have to share it right now? What, you know, because it's, and again, it's holding you back from even doing it because you're worried about what other people may think or say. And my biggest advice, and I would say that even with art, you don't always have to share your art, especially if you don't feel like you're at that place where you really want to show it. Just don't show it. Just make sure that as long as you're doing the work for you, that's what's going to be the thing that's going to count the most. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's go to EJ. I saw you come on, but I want to just get to Dilgio, then Claire, and then we'll get to you, EJ. Okay. So let's go to Dilgio.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Stephen.
Hey,
I've really enjoyed tonight.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So my question was, what would your list of who to keep in mind when it comes to criticism and who to kind of ignore? Because, you know, we shouldn't read all the comments, but, you know, how do you filter out when someone's just being critical and, you know, somebody might have good advice in a bad response, but
right.
You know, who in terms of like skill or taste or, you know, level of growth even, who do you listen to for advice and who do you kind of filter out?
You know, I think that's a great question. I think it's very important to listen. You can always be open, right? It's like, I want to hear all sides. Let me hear, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? And that you're going into it with that willingness. And then at that moment when that person says it, you can decide whether that person, do you like their artwork? Is that person even working? Are they in that position to even say that? Because oftentimes we're getting advice from people who have no clue what this industry is even about. They can't even draw themselves. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't try to get advice from people that are so close to me that are going to tell me how great things are, such as my family, my friends, you know, that my parents are going to say how wonderful it is. So it's so important to really heed the advice of the professional, someone that you want to walk, you're going into this industry. Let's just say you want to be a character designer. Well, I want to make sure that I'm getting the advice that I'm going to listen to from a person that's actually a character designer in the industry. A lot of the times, even with that, I've done so many conventions, and the big thing that always frustrated me with advice was people would ask me to look at their portfolios, and I would look through their portfolios and I would give them the advice. And I'm very honest. I don't beat around the bush, and all my students know that too. I'm going to tell you how it is. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking through and I say, you know, you need to work on your gesture. You should work on your hands more, just work on this, whatever it may be. And they're just like, and they're just like, yeah. And they're not even looking and paying attention. Those sort of people, I start to lose faith in that. Well, I'm not even going to talk anymore because clearly you don't want to hear this. But it really is like, you know who you respect. You know who are the artists out there that are doing stuff, and those are the people. And even if those people aren't working in the industry and they're just friends, whatever, and people, you're hearing the same thing over, hey, you need to work more on your expressions, and you hear it more than once, that's good enough for me. I got to start working on my expressions and start following that. And again, the people's advice that I wouldn't are those other people that just, yeah, I don't know. You know, you're not even doing anything and you're always negative all the time. So why am I even listening to you? So just try to surround yourself, again, be in front of those positive people, go into the conventions, doing the stuff where the professionals are. Those are the people I would seek.
Yeah, that's a really good take. And I've definitely been trying to live by some of the other advice from, you know, the channel I've seen, and gotta say, it works. Today I woke up and went, hey, I didn't like what I did yesterday. Let's not do that.
There you go.
Here I am.
There you go.
Way better way to go about it. So
Fantastic.
Good on you. Thanks for the talks.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, let's go to Claire, and then we'll go to EJ, and then Mohammed, and then Anna Maria, and then Ezra. Okay, so let's go to Claire.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Claire. How are you? Yes.
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I have two things. I would say one's a little bit more positive than the other. So I'll start with the positive one. I think you mentioned it earlier this evening, how it helps to find a focus in what you're interested in, to help figure out, you know, whether it's the direction of your career in art or the direction of your style, whatever it may be. I think I have come to terms with my main area of focus. As much as I just love kind of being a generalist in general, definitely color, which is a very, very specific thing to get into. I think the tricky thing for me is, though, there's not usually a lot of, at least listed openly for color stylists or people who work in color keys or anything like that. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to go about it.
Right. So just trying to do color because that's what you want to just do, but you want to do it for the animation.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because I would almost say like the opposite in a way. I see so many people trying to get storyboard positions, character design positions, background layout positions. There is a lot of neglect, definitely in prop design. So that's another great break-in into the industry, but also color design, because there's the color stylists who are doing the BG color, they're doing the colors, but then you got the ones who are doing the props and doing the characters. So it's really having a focus on in your portfolio, not seeing your portfolio, knowing what's in there, but really showing that strength in there to where you're taking, say, just one image and you've had that line artwork, but you color it multiple different times in all different sort of ways, different lighting, different ways of doing it, different styles, because then you make yourself like, oh, you can color in a SpongeBob style, right? You can color in this style, you can color with sponge, you can, whatever it may be. They sort of need to see that. And it's another thing too, that you can ask people, if you're not an art, if you don't feel strong about your actual artwork, you can ask artists and they'll be more than happy to really, and people have done it with me multiple times. And that's why I'm saying this. They've asked me permission, Stephen, I'm not a character designer, but can I take your character design and build a CG model out of it? And then I'll just put it in my portfolio, but I'll write underneath designed by Steven Silver, because so you're doing that. So there may be things that you're grabbing that you can ask different artists to do that if you find that you don't have the strength in the characters. Because sometimes what I've seen, people who want to be color stylists, they're doing the color, but they're coloring their own artwork, but their own artwork isn't strong enough. So then it just looks like they're polishing off something that's just not even ripe and ready. And so that could potentially be an area. But I would say, again, keep moving towards the thing that you love. And it's just another area, a level to do it with your color stylist portfolio to show, again, you're showing props, you're showing characters. Maybe you are doing the backgrounds if you're going that, because the color background person that's being hired is separate from the color design person who's doing the characters and the props. All right. So it's just breaking it up that way. All right.
Okay. Thank you. And then the next thing is mainly the issue that I'm currently facing. You said earlier, a lot of the time you have to count down to 5 and just do it. Yeah. I've even prior to this meeting, I've tried to adopt that behavior, especially when it comes to getting inspired. I think the biggest issue I face though is sometimes I'll do that and it's the right step forward, but by the time I get to my desk, I've already gotten down about myself, or I start to doubt, and then I kind of dote and I freeze basically, and I'm really struggling with that.
So you're just freezing from the time that you decide you're going to do something and until you actually do it. Is your workstation in your bedroom? Is it in a different place? Like where do you?
Well, I live in a studio apartment, so I don't really have a whole lot of choice.
Right. So it's right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what's happening then? So when you're deciding that, okay, I'm going to work on this color piece, and by the time you say that, and by the time you walk over to your desk, you lost your motivation and desire to even do it?
Well, I guess it's not necessarily always motivation, because I'm very aware of what I'm doing, and I get angry at myself. I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're right here, just do it. But I would definitely say it's the doubt and, the outcome of it, and just, it's not gonna turn out as well, and just I talk myself out of it.
Yeah,
a
you're
lot.
talking yourself out of it. So here's a thing that I might suggest to you, because it's something that I did all the time, which is very helpful, is if you have friends that are artists too, it's very important, because something, in order to get motivated, like, man, I don't feel like drawing today. It was that phone call, hey, let's go to the Barnes and Noble, let's go to Borders, let's go sketch today, let's go to the park, let's do something. All right. And then doing it with someone else so that you're not alone. And I feel like that would be my answer, is if you have any relationships like that, any friendships, just with someone that you guys can be your own little motivation boost and say, hey, let's go sketch today, let's go paint today, let's go do something, let's go, if you do like doing color, go doing like plein air painting, doing stuff like that, getting into even a figure drawing class where you're using color and you're surrounded by other artists. And I think a lot of people really, this anxiety and everything kicked in tenfold during this last year from isolation, right? So this is where a lot of this even happened. And I would say if you have that potential and ability to do that, I would try to do that, because otherwise it's just you stopping you, and you're just your own worst enemy. And maybe you just got to leave your paints out and leave everything out and just put it there, leave a blank piece of paper on your desk, get it ready and everything prepared. So then when you walk by it, you're just like, okay. And you just reach into it and you start doing it. Otherwise, just blare some awesome music or have a drink and do something, But that, again, that would be my advice, just from my experience of what I've done.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Claire. All right. Let's go to EJ, and then we'll go to Mohammed and then Oscar. Okay. EJ.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I'm sorry if I'm asking a question that has been answered. I lost some part of the meeting for having dinner. And so my question is how to promote and sell artwork, such as illustration and fan art, or all those things during this pandemic as an artist.
So,
and you pointed out that the importance of participating in the convention. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're just kind of breaking up a bit, so I'm losing some of your. I'm just losing some of your question. Like, your initial question was it how to sell your art right now, or?
Yeah. How to promote and sell artworks during this pandemic.
Right. Okay. How to promote it? How to promote? Okay. How to promote and sell artists during this pandemic as an artist? So yeah, again, knowing that this was a tough time and a tough year, and I would say that it was hard to do, but I want you to again know and realize that it's going to go back to the way it was. First and foremost, we got to remember that. We got to believe in that it's going to do that. But a lot of people are selling it in a lot of different ways, whether they're creating an Etsy account, they're creating their own store through their website, they're promoting, they're making their own comics, or just, again, it is the social media aspect. But the more importantly, it's a tough question. You can't just go and just sell to just anyone out of the blue. You know, it's just like, hey, buy my artwork. But what we can do is reach out to people. What you can do is know what it is that you do. If you're an illustrator and maybe you're an illustrator and you draw safari, you draw animals per se, that's your thing. So for you to start reaching out, to try to reach out to that audience, your tribe, your people, like what is it that you do, and just reach out. And people are accessible now. People are at home every day, more so now. They're on their computers all the time. So these are things that I would do, is just, again, find your lane. What is it that you're trying to sell? Who is the audience you're truly trying to reach? What is that? What is that going to be? And then looking at all these other resources. It's so much trying. I know people end up selling their prints on, like, through these poster websites. Again, I'm not even that hip and knowledgeable about all these sites that are out there that people are placing their artwork on. So it's a difficult question to say to you or give you an answer exactly what that is, other than make sure you know what it is you want to do and contact people. Reach out to people, email people. I'm seeing my friends are doing that. I had dinner with a friend the other night who wants to create all these historical characters and is talking to museums and trying to do that. Again, it takes time. You're not going to sell anything just like that. It's not going to be, hey, let me throw that on there, and at a click of a button, people are going to buy it. But just know what it is you're actually trying to sell. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. Again,
Thank you.
The pandemic was tough, but it's going in other ways, but find your lane, find what it is you're on. Thanks, EJ. All right, let's go.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, let's go to Mohammed and then Oscar. Oh, let me go to, actually, I think Anne Maria was before Mohammed. So let me do Anne Maria, then Mohammed, then Oscar, and then Ezra. Okay, so Anne Maria, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Wonderful. So, hi. So I wanted to say thank you so much for answering everyone's questions. I'm very impressed. I didn't even expect to be responded to. So I'm a freelance illustrator and designer, and I'm working towards more character design, but I've ended up with more freelance for web design and building websites. And you were talking about like not looking so much at other artists and how much of a poison that can be to constantly compare yourself. Do you think it's okay to quit social media temporarily just to work on yourself and to grow? Because like I'm working on a personal project as well, like so many people are in this group, and I get really frustrated sharing parts of what I would say are essentially me and putting it out there. Yeah. And not getting a response, and then feeling like maybe this is not going the right way. But I don't know, just like I don't want to you've built your audience being able to connect to people through social media. You see Loish and a lot of other people connecting to people through social media, and I don't want to lose that side either of not reaching that audience by stepping away from social media.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great thing to do, but you're not cutting it out completely, right? You're not completely dropping it, but you start with increments. And because you got to move into, when you're forming new habits, and that will be like a new habit, you can start with, maybe you're on social, I don't even know, like most people on average are on social media about 6 to 8 hours a day. That's like scrolling 15 minutes here, stopping, then I'm on the 20 minutes here and doing that. So if all of a sudden you just start cutting down the time in a day, right, that you're actually doing it. So maybe you're like, hey, I'm on there every morning. Maybe I'm not going to start going on social media till 11 in the afternoon, and I'm going to time it, and I'm just going to be on it for 15 minutes. And I'm going to scroll, because through scrolling is going to inspire me, and I'm going to maybe see something. But do I have to post all the time? No, you don't. You know, the audience is gonna come, the audience is gonna generate, and they're gonna build. You don't have to. I don't know why. I know, well, everyone, you got to post every day. You should post twice a day. You should have 10 hashtags for everything that you do. You're gonna go crazy. You know, I feel like post the stuff that you are happy with, that you truly want to post. So that's where you can do that, but absolutely pull back on social media. Man, I can't tell you how much work I got done when I pulled away from looking at Facebook and the news and everything for like 7 months, 6 months. Just, boy, was that freedom, you know, just to step away from all of that stuff that's going on and the noise. And that's what's happening. And especially when you're doing this, you're just putting this pressure on yourself just to get that, just to get a like, just to hope. And you know, like you said it, and that's what it does. You're on your social media. You may have 500 followers, whatever amount of followers you got, and you only get 2 likes. What's that going to do to your self-esteem, right? What the hell? I got 500 friends and only 2 people. So don't do it. This is where you get to control this. This is if you are in the conversation where I'm talking about walking down the street and walking in the hole and then walking down the street and going in the hole again. This is your chance to walk around and go on another street. And that's what you're doing, is allowing yourself just to do that. But I would say you're not going to be able to cut cold turkey. We're too ingrained. It's too much. And so that's going to be probably give you just as much anxiety. But if you start to like baby steps and start cutting back, then you're going to start to feel, hey, I'm not on it 6 hours a day. I'm on it for 3 hours a day. Then I'm on it for 2 hours a day. Then I'm on it for 1 hour a day. And this is good. And you know what? My friends are still my friends. And whoa, that's kind of weird. I still got people following me somehow because the algorithms, right? It's just like that stuff throws up all over the place. But I would absolutely say if you find this as one of those kryptonites, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Again, when I say get rid of it, I'm not saying get rid of it, but pull back. Don't delete your account and all that stuff. Just absolutely pull back. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. And then I want to take one of your classes, and especially for character design.
Yeah.
Which one would you recommend for the most growth or improvement?
I think the one that's a really good one to start is like the 8-week course that I have, the fundamentals of character design, because that'll take you all the way through instructed and guided on that level. When you get into the lesson plan, there's a lot of videos there. And if you're like comfortable and you just feel like, well, I don't need as much of a push, but I want to learn something today, and I'm going to open up that video and that 5-minute video and just practice drawing from that. That's where you'll have that access, you know, eventually to do that. But I would recommend, if you're kind of starting out and you want to get the real foundation and fundamentals, that 8-week course is going to be the right one to go with, for sure.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to, I think I said Mohammed, and then Oscar. And then I think the last one of the night will be Ezra. So let's move to did I say, yeah, Mohammed. Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Oh, hello. It's my brother account. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm an illustrator, and I have worked in the advertising agency as an illustrator. It was a startup, and I hated working there because it's far away from the animation stuff, and I really like it. So I quit my job and start studying again. I'm partly graduated from an Institute of Graphic Design. So I should working as a graphic designer, but I don't like it, and I'm studying on myself. So I love character design and stuff. And I start studying a lot, and I feel so depressed because I can't find a job in the animation industry for like 2 years. I'm now since I quit my job that was 2 months ago. I don't know. I feel I'm all over the place. I'm so depressed, and I can't start working again on myself. And I start not finishing my personal work. And you know, when you open up social media stuff and watching these artists post their everyday sketches, I don't know how they get that energy and that passion for it.
Yeah.
I'm so depressed from all of this, and I start quitting the social media too, and I don't know what to do.
Do you have any art friends? Do you have people that you can just go draw with or just sketch? You have anyone like that around you?
Um, they are not really my friends. They are like colleagues. Um, I'm kind of introvert. I can't get in touch with some people, and my close friends they are working as a graphic designers, so they are not related to the industry.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm totally alone.
Right, right. With that, I mean, there's things you sound young to me, and the only reason I'm saying that is because we're gonna have to definitely do things in our life that we don't want to do, that aren't gonna be what we want. And it seems like if you had all this experience in graphic design and doing that, and you were able to get a job in it before. So if you're able to get a job in it before, you can get a job in it again. And the only reason that I would maybe advise, I haven't seen your portfolio, I don't know where you're at in you, because a lot of people will say, I can't get a job in animation. I've tried and I tried. And then I look at their portfolio and I go, well, this is the reason, why, because you don't have this, and this. So that's something that's going to be very important for you, is to make sure that you just have that sort of you need someone to look at that. That's number one. I think it'd be very important, because otherwise you just always just it'll never happen. Nothing changes. Nothing's changed in your portfolio than what it was 2 years ago, and it needs to. But I think it's definitely important to try to get yourself in an environment, especially for work, of doing that. But also I might add to, maybe you detach yourself from that completely, get whatever job that you need to do to just to work, just to be around people, right? You could be, maybe there's an art museum, maybe there's an art store you can get a job at, right? So it's like doing things like that where there's a hint of art that's still involved in it, so you still feel that connection. And then maybe you end up meeting someone in that art store, that museum, or maybe you could be helping young kids. Again, it goes beyond yourself. And I think if you can maybe say, you know what, I'm suffering with all these ideas. Maybe if I go try to help someone else, it'll give me that boost. And using your art to work with young kids is a great way, because they respect the fact anyone can draw. You don't need to be on that top professional level. So maybe you know a teacher, maybe you know a local school, and you can say, can I come and just show these kids who are going to be so in awe of you? They're not going to judge you. It's just like young kids, they're never scared about their artwork. They'll draw anything. And until they start to get judged at a later age and they start to feel self-conscious. But I would start switching and see if there's anything you can do to help other people. And I think that'll open up your mind a bit and say, okay, and maybe get you out of that introverted space. Again, just these little bits. And that, again, I'm not a therapist. I can't give you, really help and tell you what you need to do with depression and going through that. It's just, as an artist to artist, I can just say that these are things that I would try to do. And again, putting yourself in an art class where it is just a local art class, maybe it's at a local college, and you're, again, surrounding yourself. You got to be surrounded by that. And then the social media, like I said, just maybe it's even just pulling yourself back off of that just a little bit, so that you're not inundated with this. You got to have your own retreat. Allow yourself, even for a week, maybe make a promise to me that you're going to step away from this for a week. Just a week. You're not going to look at social media. No more social media for the week. You're going to just work into yourself. You're going to just read something. You're going to watch a video, an inspirational video. You're going to do something for you in that sense. And that's what I want you to do. Okay.
Okay. I really thank you for me joining this, and hope you're doing nice today.
Thank you.
And there is another question.
Yes.
I just want to know how to commit to finish a personal project, because when you just have these fantasies, ideas, and you start and doing it, it sucks.
Yes.
And you feel like oh, I'm not gonna finishing this. How do you, take it to the end?
Yeah, it's a real discipline, because in order to even just get better, you got to make sure that you are completing these things. And maybe it's just your scheduling. Well, are you a morning person or are you a nighttime person? And having a calendar and making that commitment. And like I mentioned, I just write everything down on the calendar. When I made my own projects, I would say I'm going to do just 1 page a day. I'm not doing too much and I'm not doing too little. And that's very important too, that you're not doing so much. There was a great quote. This guy said, Wallace Wattles, he said, don't do tomorrow's work today. And I always love that, because why just that I've finished this, do I need to go into that? Just allow yourself just to work on these projects, just the little pieces, and piece by piece, you'll eventually get there, but you have to make that commitment. And I think if you pull back on the social media, you pull back on the things that are just distracting you, and that, again, it's going to take that little bit of a habit. It takes time to change it, but I think taking those actions will help you start to complete your project. All right.
All right. Really, thank you and appreciate this talk.
Thank you.
And,
thank you for showing up. You made a big step and a big move. It's just you showing up, right? And I can tell you, and I'm going to be very honest and open with this. Could
I talk to you?
Sorry, Emmanuel, can you raise your hand? I just want to make sure, because I just got the other people through there, but I definitely will get to you if you want to come in. I just want to make sure that I get everyone else. Sorry about that. All right, let's move on to Oscar.
Hey, what's up, Stephen?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
So I have 2 questions. One question would be, what advice would you give to artists who are just juggling a new relationship? I guess like when you're with someone, the honeymoon stage is happening and you always want to be with them.
Yes.
So at what point do you realize you have to focus and you have to realize that this also can be a distraction?
This is going to be so important in your life, because with the partners, the relationships you have to find that partner. You have to find that partner early on who knows who you are and knows that what it is you're trying to do. That person who's going to respect you enough when you say, hey, listen, honey, I gotta do this, work on this assignment tonight. I gotta work on this. Can we touch base later? Can we go out later? And if they're just like, no, you're always drawing, you're always working, you're never with me, that is not going to be a healthy relationship. The honeymoon phase will be over really fast, and it's not going to turn into anything. I had this guy who wanted to meet me. He said we met at the coffee shop, and he came with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was sitting off to the side, and he said, listen, man, I'm with my girlfriend and everything, but she just does not support this. She doesn't support me even meeting you and what I want to do. And I said, how long you been going out with? They said 2 years. I said, man, I hate to tell you this, but you got to break up with her. Shit, man. You think so? Yeah, man, I think so. And I say that because you have to have the support system. The support system is what's going to get you to that next goal. If you have someone stopping you, you are gonna, and if this relationship doesn't work out, and I can promise you, if someone doesn't support your art, the relationship is not going to work out. And then you're going to invest 3-4 years in this relationship just to all of a sudden you break up anyway. And then you go, my God, I just wasted 4 years of my life. I could have been drawing every day and doing those things. So if and have that conversation with your partner and let them know that, listen, this is very important to me. I need to set a schedule, but be open with them and say, can we set a schedule? Can we work together on this? And maybe, I'm going to do this and this on these days, and then this and this, hang out with you. But that would be my opinion, is absolutely make sure they're in this with you. Otherwise, it's brutal. You don't want, and I say this, I didn't have so many girlfriends. All the girlfriends I had that didn't support me out of there. It's the woman I married, my wife, she was 100% in all the time. And even still today, just say, hey, honey, I got to go and just get in the studio. I got to work late tonight. Okay, no problem. Just have fun or whatever it is. Always supportive, always encouraging. She's my business partner now. She helps me with so many things. That's what you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen. And I just want to follow up, sorry. And now I guess like the opposite, right? What if for the artists who are going through a breakup or have gone through a really tough breakup and they lose their groove, they lose their mojo because, you know, of the breakup. So what advice would you give them to find that motivation to start drawing again?
I hate to say this and sound like this, but it's just like find another relationship. You know, it's just like get that distraction, but also believe in this. It's a biblical saying, but I love it, that this too shall pass. You know, it's just like everything in life will pass. No, all those things, those troubles, these worries, they all come to pass. And this is one of those but it's okay. You know what? It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be in that place and have that. And you're going to go through it with your art. When you get rejected, it's almost like you're grieving. You're grieving that you lost this thing, this job, this opportunity, this relationship. And I think as humans, we just got to allow ourselves just to grieve and say, you know what? It's okay and it's human. And just when the time is right and you feel like your spirit is ready to move on, let it move on at that time. Don't try to force it. Don't try to deny it. Just embrace it.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Ferris. I saw you came up. I think there was Ezra. Then we'll do Ferris and then Archie and then Manuel if you come back on and you're able to raise your hand. So let's go to Ezra.
Hello there, Stephen. Thanks for having me here.
My pleasure.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my God. I'm kind of nervous. I'm sorry if my English are bad because I'm not. English is not my first language.
What's your first language? What's your first language?
And Indonesian.
Oh, okay. Well, it's better than I'll speak any other language. So, you know, congratulations, you know.
Okay. To be honest, I have 3 questions. Okay. First one is right now I'm already started work at some animation, but it's more like an infographic one. And sometimes I kind of doubt with my work because of the limitations like the hardware itself and the software that I not kind of familiar with. Hold on. And also the second one, the reason why I work at that studio because I want to learn how to use the other software, but I just kind of like skip struggle when I did it because they want faster, they want better and faster progress and also more experienced one. And then the second one is I slow at improvising than others because I saw everyone when they start drawing, I saw so many artists that I know are improve with their art and even gets famous on their social media. And the third one is as the time goes, my art style is getting different. So I was kind of doubt, should I make this art? So I imitate this art style to make my own. No, I kind of like I confused how to choose one style to another. That's all my questions.
I'll see if I can tap into those with what you're saying. I mean, just trying to find one style over another. I do say it's very important, especially as you're learning to mimic and practice and copy other people's styles because it helps form a language, a shape language, so that you can draw in this style and that style. So that's going to be very important. In regards to just your speed and doing this and trying to catch up with the software or just your speed in general, I think it's very important just to do a lot. I don't know if you do any sort of quick gesture, if that's anything that you do, but that's a very important skill set just to build where you're just looking at an image and you're timing yourself. It could be 10 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, and getting yourself involved in those sort of classes or doing it for yourself in order to pick up your speed. And then in regards to your first question, just where I think with just the idea of the the software at these studios and that they want you just to do it quicker and faster. You know, this comes with time. This is where all the timing comes in. This is where, what are you doing outside of work? If you're able to just learn a bit more, are there any tutorials you can learn and doing these things just to help you? It's always the self-motivation, the self-creation, just willing just to do these things and writing it down and just saying, I'm just going to do it. But those, you know, would be the answers to my questions with what you have to say.
All right then. Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Steven.
welcome.
I'm really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Ezra. All right, let's go to Archie, then Ferris. Okay, Archie's phone.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So first of all, I don't know if someone already asked this because I'm late to attend here. So my question is, how in your opinion, how to prove to my parents or our parents that art is a promising career to pursue it, because I personally have parents don't really appreciate, don't really support me in art, and so they want me to pursue anything else beside art.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I kinda say stressful with that, and a little bit desperate, because like no one I don't say no one, but family is the it should be, family should be supporting their children on what they want to pursue, but there are some parents did not pursue did not support their children if they want to go to art, to pursue career in art industry or animation industry. Do you have opinion with that?
Yeah. So it's not an uncommon problem. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of parents out there that don't support, don't feel that this is a viable thing. So number one is make sure that you do your research to show them. What you need to do is almost just show them that you're taking this seriously, right? That you're here, you're going to show them a list of all these artists and their professions and say, Mom, Dad, this artist is doing this with their artwork and they're doing this. So, you're starting to give them some evidence that artists can make a living doing this. I think that's going to be very important for you to just to share with them. I also think it's important to where, I don't know how old you are, what your living situation or anything else like that, what anything else is with your, sorry, Emmanuel, just that the noise, the sound's coming through a lot. Archie, another thing is just to, what I sort of lost my train of thought there is, depending on how old you are and what you're doing, if you're dependent on your parents and you rely on them to provide for you right now in that situation, well, you're going to have to listen to them because you're dependent on them. I moved out of my house when I was 18 years old. My parents wanted me to go to college and do all that. I didn't want to. I wanted to be an artist. So I moved out on my own and I started doing caricatures, and I started that career because my parents they were supportive, but they just didn't get it. They just didn't get how can you make a life as an artist. So I had to show them that I could, and I started doing caricatures and I started to make money, and they started to see that. So that's another thing that you're going to have to make that choice and decision to do, but really just show them that you're truly interested. Let them see you working on it all the time. And even though they don't want you to do it and don't feel that this is viable, you have to do this for yourself, because not only will you live a life of regret and go, God, why did I waste 20 years of not just drawing? Just keep doing it and show them that you're doing it, and keep showing them of just possible opportunities. And that's where the hard work comes in on your end, just to show them. But if worst case scenario is where you're just like, I got to depend on my parents. They got to pay for me. I can't do this on my own. I can't get my own job. Then you got to listen to them. Otherwise, I would say, hey, listen, you got to spread your wings. You got to be that butterfly that leaves the that you got to become the butterfly. You got to leave the chrysalis and sort of expand your wings and move on your own, and not have someone just holding you back so much. I had a student one time who he called me, said, hey, I don't know what to do. My dad, he doesn't really believe in my art and all this, but this is what I'm doing. And I actually just got offered a job. Should I take it or should I not? And I said, because his dad was like, you just got to go to school. You got to keep going to school. You can't do that. And I said, drop out of school, take the job. That's where you're going to get your experience. And he did. He went and got the job. The worst thing his dad did was he called up the studio and had them fire his son. It was the worst thing that you could have ever done. And that's unfortunate. But at that point, that's when you got to decide, is it time now for me to spread my wings? But don't neglect this passion. Don't, even if you do go another direction, keep doing your art, okay?
Okay, Stephen, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure.